revolves around International Women's Day that we celebrate on March 8th. And our discussion for today revolves around Project W, which is Women in Workplace, through which we are trying to initiate the conversation to transform workplaces to be more equitable for all. Our discussion today will be focused on significant contributions of women in the workplace and highlights action required to achieve gender equality and empowerment. The event serves a platform for collective reflection, addressing challenges, opportunities that lie in supporting the role of women as agents of the workplace. So without further ado, let me start by giving a brief introduction of all of our panelists. So starting with Mr. Renegade Nepal. So he is one of the youngest CEOs in the fintech industry in Nepal, which is Khalti, and he is a seasoned professional with extensive experience in leading roles before taking his helm at Khalti. A warm welcome. And the next panelist we have is Melissa Gimiri. She's the managing director of C Equals Foundation, which oversees women in girls in tech and women in big data networks in Nepal. And it is a non-profit dedicated to bridging the gender gaps in the tech industry. She's influential tech enthusiast and an aspiring social entrepreneur. Welcome. And next we have Anushka Shrestha. She is Miss Nepal World 2019 and is also a social entrepreneur, regional manager for Australian Catholic University, co-founder and CEO of Makuse, a Nepali brand reimagining traditional Nepali constituencies with a modern touch. Welcome. And next we have Abhushan Jyoti Kansakar. He's the founder and CEO of GV Health Private Limited, and a one-stop e-commerce solution for all healthcare needs. He's also the CEO of Deba Jyoti Group, a conglomerate that owns and operates constructional equipments, communication and surveillance, and automotive industries. Kansakar, an entrepreneur at heart, firmly believes that anything is possible if you set your mind to it. Welcome. And next, I get to introduce my dear friend, Suzu Poon. She's the program manager at Women Lead Nepal, an NGO that works with young Nepali women to provide them with skills and opportunities to become leaders and change makers. She's also a certified executive coach, an alumni of Swedish Institute, and has worked as a co-researcher at iWorlds Global. Welcome, Suzu. Last but not the least, we have Rohit Tiwari, who's an entrepreneur from Nepal, featured in the Forbes 30 Under 30 Asia under the social entrepreneurship category. He's currently the CEO of Hamro Bazaar, a social enterprise that connects local businesses with customers to create sustainable income opportunities. Rohit is also the founder of Food Mario, a pioneering Nepal-based digital platform that connects home chefs with customers to deliver home-cooked foods. Rohit is already making waves in entrepreneurial world and is determined to impact the world through his work positively. Welcome. So today, before we dive actually into the topic of women in the workplace and how we can make it more equitable, just an icebreaker question that I'd like to ask our panelists. Who has been the female mentor or the female superhero in your lives? Anyone who wants to go first?
So मेरो केसमा चाहिँ फिमेल सुपर हिरो अथवा चाहिँ नि मेल फिमेल सबै नै कम्बाइन गरे पनि माई मदर इज माई सुपर हिरो हैन. सो मेरो स्कुल लाइफदेखि नै सी युज टु वर्क लाइक 16-17 आवर्स अ डे प्रोफेसनल्ली नै पनि एन्ड स्टिल सी म्यानेज टु लाइक केयर फर अस हैन. पर्सनल ग्रोथ अथवा चाहिँ नि एजुकेसनल ग्रोथ सबैमा भ्याउनुहुन्थ्यो क्या उहाँले. सो मैले अहिले सोच्दाखेरि चाहिँ मैले कहिले त्यो गर्न सक्छु र जस्तो फिल हुन्छ के. सो सी इज रियली अ सुपर हिरो. थ्याङ्क यू.
Who's gonna go next?
Hello, I'm audible? It's a Zoom feeling. Okay. So Miro say I think a very cliche answer, but Surumata, I did see my mom as my superhero. Even though she wasn't like a working woman or anything, but I think when I look back, or at least I did find like she was a feminist in different ways, right? But having said that, formally mentor ko rupma I would say मेरो former boss भनौँ न, she used to work at Women Lead. She was the deputy director. उहाँको नाम चाहिँ श्रेया थापा हो. So a lot of what I emit today as a leader, as someone who leads programs, I think I take it from her. So yeah, Shreya, if she's listening.
For me, the answer is a little bit more different. Everybody, I think, सबैजनाको लागि आफ्नो mother is always a superhero, हैन? त्यो चाहिँ that's unquestionable जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई चाहिँ. तर मेरो लागि चाहिँ personally, I could not find anybody as a superhero because I was in a tech industry, हुन्छ नि. त्यो every time I wanted to look up to somebody, there was a male candidate in front of me. So it was a very difficult त्यो हुन्छ नि process for me to understand कि okay, I have to look up to someone भनेर. Until and unless I took part in a lot of competitions where I saw female, not just from Nepal, all around the globe, but त्यसपछि चाहिँ every single day my superhero used to change. के मलाई वहाँ जस्तो बन्न मन छ, मलाई वहाँ जस्तो बन्न मन छ, and I took inspirations from everybody, and I think that is the reason why I am here today. Thank you.
Okay, this is a very difficult question to answer. Okay? You know, somebody says mother, then you've got to be like, okay, what do I say? Okay? What do I say? Yeah, well, now I have to give a different answer, right? So it's difficult. But then again, like since childhood, my role model always has been my grandfather. So I just lost him last April, right? So it's going to be a year. It's we just did 11 months. But apart from that, what's very important is I've had a lot of role models. So superhero vandai, this is where we differ, I think. I've had there's a particular I mean, she's no more as well, but then the founder of Furniture Mart in Omaha, she's this lady called Mrs. B, right? Rose, Mrs. Rose, also fondly known as Mrs. B. So she's always been one of the role models. Probably you wouldn't have heard too much about her. But then coming back to superhero, I think why it's my mom in my own different ways, not necessarily would see superhero. So I've been brought up, or most men are, like we'll probably get into this discussion today anyway. So we've been brought up to be strong. We've been brought up to show strength through lack of emotions or otherwise. I think I got a lot of my empathy from my mother. So I'm still considered very non-emotional in many ways, but the empathy is still there. I don't show emotion in that way, but I understand emotions a lot better because of my mother. So in that way, yes. So I hope this was different than what other people said.
Being the second last person to answer this, like, it's going to be so difficult for me. All the answers have already come, but just trying to be different again. I think it so much depends on the particular moment and how you perceive that particular person as a superhero. If we talk about the women who have been with me in my organizations, in my family, in home, obviously it's mom, because of a lot of things. In office, it so much depends when I just recall through my team. Every other woman that I have in my team, they're playing their particular part, irrespective of a lot of different barriers they have to go through. So just thinking about them, maybe all of them are the superheroes for me, because they have given their time, which is so invaluable. We just have 24 hours, we all have 24 hours. And they giving their 8 hours, 10 hours a day, and when it was needed, they're staying in an office for 15 hours, 18 hours. For particular that time, I think all of them are the superheroes for me. Yeah, that's it.
So is there a pressure to give an answer that is different? A superhero or an inspiration, women in the workplace, unapologetically it is my mother, and I'll tell you why. It is because म हुर्केदेखि मैले मामुलाई चाहिँ अफिसमा काम गरेको भनेर चिनेको छु. Not to say that women who work in a formal workplace is any better than a woman who doesn't. तर मैले के देखेको छु भनेदेखि characteristics that are associated or are not associated with women in workplace rather. I have seen my mother evolve, and that is why I think I really consider her as a superhero, especially age dynamic ma herदाखेरि we associate continuous development nagornu more with elderly people. So that is something that I do not see in her, that is something that I see her absolutely accept and change, and that is why she is my superhero. मैले आफूले जानेदेखि my mother, we used to work in, she is a fashion designer by profession, so she used to work in somebody's firm. Work-life balance गर्ने त्यो एंगलबाट superhero त छँदै नै छ. तर त्यो भनिसक्दा पनि she started leading a team, started as an employee first, then started managing people, and obviously was very good at that because then she started managing a larger team of people. त्यसपछि आएर career change गर्न खोज्दाखेरि entrepreneurial हुन खोज्नु, innovative हुन खोज्नु, and the way that she handles her work ethic at the moment, handling different categories. So she runs her own clothing line. So त्यसमा manufacturing को कुरा आउला, marketing को कुरा आउला, continuous research and development को कुरा आउला, and now taking the time off to consciously have a personal growth break as well. She's recently joined Toastmasters as well, and she's so proud that today I was the best speaker and I only had 2 ums. So you usually wouldn't associate that a lot, be it men or women after a certain age. So seeing that is honestly an inspiration in the workplace, because when you see the leader, so she's the team leader in her organization, when you see the team leaders being so invested in growth, in personal growth, making that effort, the way that she handles her team, it is truly, truly inspirational. So that is my inspiration of women in the workplace, started from the bottom and now getting up there to the top.
Thank you, everyone. That was really interesting. Before we dive into the question, just a note for our audience. We will be taking questions from our audience, live audience out here, and our live stream audience as well. So for our live stream audience, please do post your questions in our live stream in the comment section, and our team will select top 2 questions out of that. That will ask at the end. And for the live audience, we will do a roll call later on. Now, as we move into the topic of our discussion, the first segment that we have that we're going to talk about is present trend in tech and non-tech corporate landscape in Nepal. So according to a research done by Statia in 2020, about 25% of GAFAM employees, which stands for Google, Apple, Facebook, Amazon, and Microsoft employees, are female. It's the top tech companies that are in the world, right? And only 25% of them are female. So it's a global context. But wanted to see and wanted to understand your experience about, is it true in the context of Nepal as well? Is it any different, or what is, in your view, about involvement of women in tech in Nepal? Is the scenario any different? We are near there, or just what's your take on that?
Exactly, having the mic in hand. So, okay, so I'll just say कि I think there is a lot of gap. म चाहिँ यो कुरा एकदम मजाले भन्न किन सक्छु भने I've been into tech industry, not just tech industry. If you take me back to my school days, and then I did my school where we were all about बराबरको हुन्छ नि पोजिसनमा थियो स्कुलको लाइफमा. मलाई याद छ 25 र 24 जना चाहिँ थियौँ हामी क्लासमा. त्यसपछि म +2 मा आएँ, मैले फिजिक्स पढ्छु भनेर सोचेँ. त्यहाँ आउँदा 7 जना केटी थियो के क्लासमा. म त छक्क परेँ, यति धेरै केटा अनि 7 जना मात्रै केटी. त्यो पनि 2टा ग्रुप थियो. कहिलेकाहीँ उनीहरू आएन भने त हराउँथ्यौँ के हामी. अनि फिजिक्स ल्याबमा लिएर जानुहुन्थ्यो, त्यहाँ त झन् ब्रेक हुन्थ्यो, 2 जना मात्रै केटी, 1 जना एब्सेन्ट भयो भने त म त कहाँ जाने हुन्थ्यो के. सो त्यो बेलाको सिचुएसन त्यस्तो. त्यसपछि आई वेन्ट टु इन्जिनियरिङ, त्यहाँ त झन् घट्यो, 2 जना केटी हैन. So the decrement हेर्ने हो भने, if you outnumber, there is a very significant number of male candidates who are coming out of engineering, tech, STEM as a whole, हैन. And if you go into हामीले जति पुश गर्न खोजे पनि 10 out of 3 is a very less number if you talk about it. And 45 out of 2 engineers in one class is like a huge gap that we're talking about. And त्यही female industry मा role हुने हो नि त भोलि गएर, हैन. So if you want to push, हामी कहिले पनि we don't go back and think कि म जहिले पनि मेरो टिमलाई भन्छु problem industry मा छैन, problem backward छ. Problem is not about we are not finding female workforce in the team. It's about we're not producing enough females in the workforce. That is the reason we're not finding them in the team. अब त्यो 45 जनामा 2 जनाले massive तपाईहरुले कति जना हायर गर्नुहुन्छ एक वर्षमा, हैन. So that is the kind of major challenge. त्यो भएको भएर the number is really less when you talk about the workforce. Even though looking over the last decade, yes, the percentages are increasing. I think if I remember 70 to 24% increment भएको छ job wages मा भनेर World Bank ले निकालेको छ. But if you look over the number, 10 out of 2 men are only doing jobs that जहाँ चाहिँ they're not getting paid. But if you calculate female ko number, 10 out of 3 women are only getting paid भनेपछि त्यो 7 ko gap is still needs to be fulfilled. So if you talk about the gap in our country, it's actually not just in wage formal economy होस् या informal economy होस्, it's already very huge.
Anyone else?
Yeah. टेकमा चाहिँ एज उसले भने जस्तै अगेन बिङ अ इन्जिनियरिङ स्टुडेन्ट हाम्रो चाहिँ 32जना क्लास थियो 4जना मात्रै केटीहरू हुनुहुन्थ्यो आई थिङ्क त्यहाँबाट प्रब्लम स्टार्ट भयो होला हो सो उहाँले पर्टिकुलरली आइडेन्टिफाई गर्नुभएको चाहिँ डाइरेक्टली वर्कमा किन वी डोन्ट फाइन्ड अ लट अफ टेक इन्डस्ट्रीमा चाहिँ वाइ डोन्ट वी फाइन्ड अ लट अफ वुमेन भनेर सोच्नुभन्दा अगाडि चाहिँ किन वी डोन्ट फाइन्ड अ लट अफ वुमेन स्टुडेन्ट स्टडिङ इन्जिनियरिङ अर स्टुडेन्ट त्यो पर्टिकुलर वुमेन स्टडिङ कोडिङ मेबी इज जहाँ चाहिँ हामीले प्रब्लम चाहिँ फिगर आउट गर्नुपर्छ होला अनि तर वर्क पेको बारेमा कुरा गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ अब मैले यो पर्टिकुलर सिनारियो भनेको चाहिँ इज वेन इट वाज 2008 वेन आई स्टार्टेड इन्जिनियरिङ होइन निड अ लट अफ वुमेन टु इफ दे आर इन्ट्रेस्टेड डेफिनेटली लाइक त्यो इन्ट्रेस्ट कसरी लिएर आउने भन्नेवाला पोर्सन चाहिँ वी हेभ टु डिस्कस अगेन होइन मेबी दे वर इन्ट्रेस्टेड अनि त्यो इन्ट्रेस्ट हुँदा हुँदै पनि बिकज अफ त्यो पर्टिकुलर कल्चर अर द वे दे वर ग्रुम्ड त्यो सबै कुराले गर्दा चाहिँ दे डिन्ट वान्ट टु पर्स्यु उहाँहरूको टेक एम्बिसन्सहरू अनि त्यो पर्टिकुलर फिल्डमा चाहिँ इफ वी क्यान वर्क अराउन्ड एन्ड इफ वी have women who want to code and come to tech industry would be great for entire puri industry kinaki now we would know as develop garna manche pani like developers haru pani ki त्यो particularly male perspective matre haina ki women perspective or like huncha ani alikati diversity we can think and make products haru around tesari nai so yeah this is what I want to say about it.
Since I think duitaको perspective basically being in the tech industry I operate organizations in different industries. There is an organization where my women to male ratio sits at less than 10%. Right? It's not because we don't want to hire, it's just that we don't get people who want to work in that industry. So I think it's the same issue. I have organizations where my male female ratio is 55% as well. I would just before this मलाई actually male female ratio देऊ न actually भन्दाखेरि I got a 45-55 ratio, right? So obviously I'm not looking at it every day to see कि match हुन्छ कि हुँदैन, but we got a 45-55 ratio. If I look at my engineering team in particular, I think we sit at about 25-28%, maybe somewhere close to that. Not very encouraging, but I think it also comes down to like she mentioned, I think the problem isn't necessarily engineering, or you probably have to go down deeper into what kind of toys that a girl child is given and a boy child is given. Problem solving toys or hockey, are you giving them, you know, those kitchen appliances, and the boy is given more, you know, say problem solving toys, whether it's and various things, you know, the interest is built very early on. So what the kind of interest that is built early on, that makes a lot of difference. It also depends on the environment that you have at home. So I know a lot of people who, as women, they see themselves as somebody who's going to probably get married. So you know you've got to acquire a certain set of skills. And this is me having studied almost 17 years in India in various countries. So I have friends even in that circle who could probably, this is not necessarily we're not talking about you know, lower middle class or rural population. We're not talking about that. This is urban population, probably a higher middle class, and you still have this in them. So it actually comes down to not only the fathers but also the mothers. Sometimes we want, I mean, in part of discussion, we probably want to be politically correct and we say, oh, okay, but it's not about it. If you want to really go into deeper into this issue, I say stronger mothers have stronger daughters, weaker mothers have weaker daughters. That's how it is in general. There are weak mothers who actually bring out stronger daughters because they have that fight in them. But a lot of times it is how they see it, right? So I think it drills down to how early on we look at it. And I think it goes down to that. So I think a lot of discussions will probably happen around this area. So.
Women non-tech, tech र non-tech मा current नेपालको situation भनेर प्रश्न राख्नु भयो. Tech industry को त धेरैले भन्नुभयो. Non-tech industry मा is actually thinking I have been in the Nepali workplace for a relatively very shorter period of time. आफ्नो व्यवसाय सुरु गरेको त जम्मा अहिले sales start गरेको what it's been 15-16 months now. So I was going back to all the workplaces where I have worked बाहिर पढ्ने बेलाको workplace, अहिले यता काम गर्दाखेरिको workplace कस्तो थियो त साँच्चै कस्तो रहेछ र किन रहेछ भनेर reflect गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ consciously त्यसलाई equitable बनाउन खोजेन भनेदेखि चाहिँ त्यहाँ पनि धेरै समस्या आइलाग्दो रहेछ भनेर. Recently we were having a panel discussion and we wanted to have even for Women's Day, a lot of companies and organizations have taken Women's Day as an opportunity to shed light on women who lead, on inspirational women, and we at Makose try to do the same. So, हुन त सबै female त्यसमा त gender equity को कुरा आएन, तर त्यसमा अर्को level of equity, let's say different professions बाट लिएर आउने, different socio-economic groups बाट लिएर आउने कुरामा चाहिँ के feel भयो भने first मा okay, let's bring along 8 women that inspire. The 8 names just popped on the top of our head and we noted them down. But we said they kind of have similar ethnic backgrounds because त्यसले पहिलाको प्रिभिलेजले कतै न कतै त त्यसले असर देखाइहाल्छ जुन चाहिँ यहाँ अहिले सबै प्यानलिस्टले पनि भनिरहनु भएको छ कि एउटा क्यारी अन इफेक्ट भइरहन्छ पहिल्यैबाट प्रिभिलेज पाएको चाहे त्यो पर्सनल अपब्रिङ्गिङ होस् चाहे त्यो एजुकेसनल ब्याकग्राउन्ड धेरैले सो कतै न कतै एउटा डिसिजन मेकिङ पावरमा पुगिसक्दाखेरि त्यसको लागि कम्पनी लिड नै गर्न नपर्ला हामी सबैले आफ्नो सानसानो कुनै न कुनै प्रोजेक्ट्स लिड गर्छौँ होइन त्यसमा कन्सियस भएनौँ भनेदेखि चाहिँ साँच्चीकै त्यसरी नै भइराख्दो रहेछ have had the good fortune of having a friend, a mentor, Sujeev, who leads Nepal Economic Forum. And it is merely like the 50% of the panel always has to be female. There must be some expert over here. So when people in position of power, and again, that is not just to say some leader sitting somewhere, we all manage something of our own. Consciously, that form of equity, gender equity, ethnic equity, so एउटा पाटो भयो र आउट अफ नेपालको एउटा सानो एक्जाम्पल दिने पर्दाखेरि चाहिँ म बाहिर पढ्दाखेरि I worked at a university, the same university which I studied in, and now that I get to manage ACU. And 100% of my team was female, like 100%. अनि त्यो चाहिँ कस्तो खालको रोल थियो भनेर हेर्दाखेरि चाहिँ somewhere even in countries that we consider developed, एक sort of stability भएको करियर चाहिँ हामी बढी women or people that identify themselves as women, females सँग associate गर्दै रहेछौँ एउटा ठक्क 9 to 5 जसमा ठक्क यो ब्रेक होस् यति लिभ्स हुन्छ भनेर थाहा छ because you feel like you have to manage that social life side of things as well. So perhaps it is a global phenomenon where we associate Nepal it's a very disruptive space ni sabaitira even Renegade definition I think we tend to disrupt the how I understand. So it's a very disruptive place wherein we're talking about entrepreneurship सबैजना नयाँ घरघुर काम गर्ने अनि त्यो घरघुर गर्ने बेलामा चाहिँ perhaps धेरैजनाले त्यसलाई femaleसँग associate गर्नुहुन्न because females because of many reasons seek that stability भनेर. So त्यो angle might be an interesting perspective to see okay why currently नेपालमा चाहिँ त्यो gap रहेछ त. Perhaps as we move towards a more stabler situations, if we look at industries that are relatively more stable, be it banking or be it so many other industries, त्यहाँ हामीले बढी even also the departments, but perhaps it is the stabler departments that you see a lesser of a gap as opposed to the more disruptive sectors. So that might be something interesting to think of.
Okay, so I think before I begin with like workforce my women, and I saw this somewhere which I found very interesting. I was very intrigued by it. So this it was I forgot where it was, their Instagram where they had where it was saying women who workforce ma chaina bhancha, but how is that? They've always been in workforce. It's just that they've not been paid. So I guess I would just like want to start with that. But having said that, I work development sector ma. So tech could say I don't have. I probably share going to but non-tech generally, we do see a lot of less women in the workforce. More काम गर्ने sector ma for some funny reason which I would love to research more because it's a development sector. I do see a lot more women compared to other sectors. But I don't know what the rationale is behind that. But I think it might be because of all these thought provisions but it's interesting to see त्यो. But having said that, I would actually say कि as the hierarchy goes up, number of women go down. It's very sad and unfortunate, and I think we don't have more women, we need more women. It would actually be addressed a lot if we had more women leaders at the top, because women bring more women, right? If you are one of them, you like to bring like people who are like you, and I think the snowball effect wants them. If we have more women leaders in the top, but yeah, I think like most things are said, so I wouldn't want to add more. But less women, top my hierarchical less women, which needs to change.
Yeah, sir. So म चाहिँ लास्ट मा है अहिले चाहिँ सो अलमोस्ट सबै कुराहरु भइसकेको छ म चाहिँ हाम्रो कम्पनीको बारेमा अलिकति भन्छु सो खल्तीमा वी हैव लाइक 230 प्लस को वर्कफोर्स त्यहाँ 51% वुमेन हुनुहुन्छ र लिडरसिपमा पनि वुमेनहरू हुनुहुन्छ भनेको बीट एचआर हेड बीट क्रिएटिभ हेड बीट प्रडक्ट हेड हैन लिडरसिप रोलमा पनि सो अब यो सोशल रिफर्म ल्याउने कुराहरू अथवा चाहिँ नि हैन यो ओभरअल मान्छेको सेन्टिमेन्ट अथवा चाहिँ नि साइकोग्राफिक कुरामा नै इम्प्याक्ट गर्ने कुराहरू आफ्नो ठाउँमा होला तर हामी जहाँ जहाँ छौँ त्यहाँबाट नै सुरु गर्यो भने पनि वी क्यान लाइक स्टार्ट इनिसिएटिभ चाहिँ लिन सकिन्छ जस्तो लाग्छ भनेको मैले टोटल्ली कुनै मान्छेको स्किल एसेसमेन्ट टेस्टहरू अथवा चाहिँ नि बीट लाइक पर्फर्मेन्स अप्राइजलहरू गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ सो जेन्डर भन्ने कुरा बिर्सिदिनु पर्यो क्या त हैन सो वुमेन छ वुमेनलाई इन्स्योर गर्नुपर्छ एकजना वुमेन भने पनि चाहिन्छ भनेर गर्ने अथवा चाहिँ नि त्यो गर्ने होइन क्या सो इन्डिपेन्डेन्ट थट प्रोसेसबाट गाइडेड हुनु पर्यो जस्तो लाग्छ हैन सो दे आर क्यापेबल के आजको दिनमा नत्र त किन चाहिँ डिफ्रेन्ट लिडरसिप पोजिसनमा अथवा चाहिँ विदिन अर्गनाइजेसन अथवा मेरो पास्ट एक्सपिरियन्समा पनि म ब्याङ्किङमा थिएँ योभन्दा अगाडि ब्याङ्किङमा पनि लट्स अफ वुमेन इभन बोर्ड अफ डाइरेक्टर्स होइन म्यानेजमेन्ट कमिटी दे रिप्रेजेन्ट के दे क्यान डु इट सो त्यो चाहिँ पर्सिभ गर्नु पऱ्यो क्या हामीले त्यो कुरालाई चाहिँ बिलिभ गर्नु पऱ्यो सो त्यही हो मेरो चाहिँ थ्याङ्क यू
Sorry, I know our moderator is like, time. Sorry, तर मैले एउटा यसमा छोटो एड गर्ने चाहिँ जुन चाहिँ हजुरले इक्विटीको कुरा गर्नुभयो नि कि जेन्डर भन्ने कुरै बिर्सेर हामीले जस्ट मेरिट बेस्ड जानुपर्छ द्याट इज एक्ज्याक्टली वाट आई थट बिफोर एज वेल तर यसमा हामीले इक्विटी भन्नेमा त्यो एउटा एकदम पपुलर पिक्चर छ नि सोसियल मिडियामा एउटा झ्याल छ इक्वालिटी र इक्विटी त्यो चाहिँ हामीले याद गर्न जरुरी छ जस्तो छ बिकज देयर आर मेनी थिङ्स द्याट हेभ लेड अप टु द पोजिसन द्याट इज देयर टुडे रिजर्भेसन क्यान बी अ थिङ टु बी डिबेटेड अपन तर यदि हजुरले हो एक हिसाबले सर्फेसियल लेभलमा एब्सोल्युटली राइट जस्ट जज बेस्ड अन पर्फर्मेन्स एन्ड अ फ्यु वुमेन द्याट आर एबल टु कम्पिट विल रिच देयर अन टप बट टु गेट टु द काइन्ड अफ इक्विटी द्याट वी वान्ट त्यसको लागि चाहिँ द्याट consideration, not to say that women that are not too capable should be there to भन्छ नि 10 मा 10 ल्याएको केटा छ र 10 मा 8 ल्याएको केटी छ भने किन उसलाई दिने त उसले त 10 मा 10 ल्याएको we're judging on pure talent not just on gender equity on ethnic equity हैन धेरै कुरामा equity को कुरा गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ those past things that have led up to this situation must be considered and there, it is not a superficial black and white answer that perhaps we can talk about in a minute तर त्यो चाहिँ consider गर्नुपर्छ pure हामीले neck to neck मात्र compare गर्यौं भनेदेखि चाहिँ we forget of all the past prejudices that have led up to this condition.
Yeah, thank you everyone for a very nice insight and I do agree with Melisha's point where जब म चाहिँ वेस्टको एउटा स्कुलमा गभर्मेन्ट स्कुलमा when I was going there for volunteering त्यहाँ के नै देखिन्छ भन्दाखेरि नर्सरीकोमा चाहिँ there are more female than male students अनि as you grow 10 क्लासमा हेर्यो भने there are 2 female students and 10 male students so त्यहाँनिर चाहिँ even equality in education the opportunity that we give to females as parents as society देखि नै सोचेर चाहिँ बल्ल then we can talk about workforce भन्ने जस्तो चाहिँ लाग्यो so going on to the next question that I have I just want to share a personal note so with my experience of working in HR so you do a lot of recruitment गरिरहेको हुन्छ हैन so there's female candidate and male candidates हैन अनि offer ल सबै इन्टरभ्यु भयो assessment भयो you're going to offer stage अनि offer stage मा आइसकेपछि where a female candidate चाहिँ कि I'm getting married next month भनेर इन्फर्म गर्यो भने what do the hiring panel see is कि अब 2 हप्ता लिभ लिन्छ त्यसपछि then family planning सुरु हुन्छ त्यसपछि बच्चाको कुरा स्टार्ट हुन्छ would she be able to work and versus त्यहीमा male candidate भयो भने what's the perception is कि एक हप्ता छुट्टी लिन्छ अनि आइहाल्छ नि काममा and then that's done भन्ने जस्तो भयो हैन so these kind of expectations or even त्यो जानेको नै बायसनेस हैन कि this unconscious biasness जुन हुन्छ वर्कफोर्समा गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ अनि स्पेशली लाइक अघि पनि अनुष्काले पनि कुरा गर्यो लाइक फर फिमेल्स when they come to into workforce त्यो सँगसँगै there is a pressure that they need to maintain their social life फ्यामिलीमा होस् कम्युनिटीमा होस् भन्ने saying there is that kind of expectations or त्यो जसले पनि हेर्दा even being a female when unconsciously आफैले पनि अर्कोलाई त्यही नै सोचिरहेको just not talking about male counterparts and so just wanted to know your thoughts on when there are females in the workplace especially in leadership positions do you think that the expectation that the company and the community is setting to them is like skewed एकदमै high pressure मा or do you feel it's like the same balance or the same expectation male or female there's no difference what has been your experience or take on that
I can start. Definitely skewed side, and also एकदमै unreasonable expectations. यस्तो pedestalमा हालिदिँदो रहेछ. One women लिएर आउने बित्तिकै, and then it's just like, ऊ आउँछ, she'll change things. If she doesn't, oh my god. थाहा थियो पहिल्यैदेखि हैन, she's a woman, कहाँ सक्छ भनेर. And also it's also interesting, like, because so मेरो thesis say I also did women in leadership in Nepal, okay? So it was interesting to kind of read things, and like when I was talking to different people, it was really interesting when things came up. के रहेछ भने चाहिँ women in leaders is not just like त्यो unreasonably हुन्छ नि उनीहरुबाट धेरै expectation मात्र होइन. It's like a double-edged sword when you're in a leadership position. So एउटा चाहिँ के छ भने the traditional traits that is associated with women, right? अलिकति इमोसनल हुन्छ, अलिकति हुन्छ नि एम्पैथेटिक हुन्छ, अलिकति हुन्छ नि सबै मान्छेहरुसँग सानो कुरामै रुइहाल्छ, or like whatever things. त्यस्तो कुराहरु if you bring to the workplace, or if you are a leader, oh my god, she's so not a leader like, हैन? के हो यस्तो खै एउटा खै त छोरी मान्छेमा हुनुपर्ने एउटा छैन त के पनि leader positionमा भए पनि. And on the contrary, if she is in the leadership position and उसले फेरि अलिकति भनौं न so called masculine traits देखाएर अलिकति bossy भयो रे, demand गर्यो that हुन्छ नि things need to get right, अलिकति चाहिँ decision making मा चाहिँ she talks मजाले भने चाहिँ then again there is a problem. Then again it's like, oh my god, कस्तो bossy, हैन? Bossy भन्ने term नि it's so negative अहिले त. पहिला मलाई यस्तो मन पर्थेन boss babe भन्थ्यो. अहिले I'm like, it is such a term that is used for women who likes to basically get things done. So it's a double-edged sword if you ask me. के हुन्छ नि अब अलिकति तिम्रो female traits so called ल्याए भने पनि people have like, oh my god, she's soft, हुन्छ नि अलिकति softy भयो, कहाँ यो ठाउँमा यो सर भएको भए त कस्तो मजाले डिसिजन लिदिनुहुन्थ्यो, क्या ब्याङ ब्याङ बोल्नुहुन्थ्यो भन्नुहुन्छ हैन? But फेरि त्यही ठाउँमा again if you are like that, if you are a bit like हुन्छ नि I need things done, hey भन्ने खाले attitude भयो भने again फेरि people have problems. I'm like, we cannot win, right? So मेरोमा चाहिँ त्यो हेर्दाखेरि चाहिँ I have seen that a lot. I've been under a lot of men bosses, I've been a lot of under like women bosses as well. But just like even the things that त्यो टिममा हुन्छ नि कुराहरु सुन्दाखेरि हेर्दाखेरि पनि it just feels like, oh my god, women leaders, women in general, but women leaders, I don't think they can ever win because nothing is good enough for anybody.
So, मेरो चाहिँ again like हुन्छ नि the narrative of tech can be very different than narrative of any other industry. Eh? So मेरो चाहिँ is very different. I think I never have ever thought of when we recruit people or when we give an appraisal to anyone कि हाम्रो जुन बेला हामीले हायर गर्छौँ नि दुईटा कुरा मात्रै दिमागमा हुन्छ के when we hire people. एउटा is बाको पास्ट उहाँले के कुरामा कसरी काम गर्नु भएको छ, उहाँले सक्सेसफुल प्रोजेक्ट्सहरु के लिड गर्नु भएको छ र हामीले सकेसम्म नेगोसिएट गर्न सक्छौं कि सक्दैनौं अन स्यालेरी है, अनि यति मात्रै हो के. अनि अब त्यस बाइकको जुन चाहिँ कुराहरु उहाँले भन्नुभयो, आम भेरी स्योर कि दिस इज करेक्ट हैन, आइ एम नट सेइङ कि दिस इज कम्प्लिटली रङ. तर an objective of a successful company is to hire people who can work एकदम rightly in a right direction, हैन? अनि for the company with their hearts and souls definitely falling to vision. अनि त्यो कुरालाई कम्प्लिट गर्नको लागि चाहिँ उहाँ इमोशनल पनि हुनुपर्छ हैन. दे हैव टु बी इमोशनल विदिन द कम्पनी एन्ड वी डु अग्री अपन इट, नत्र भए त भिजनसँग कसरी अलाइन हुने. सो इमोसन भयो भनेर चाहिँ अर इमोसनल हुन सक्छ भनेर चाहिँ वी डोन्ट हायर देम भन्ने चाहिँ हैन, बरु वी वान्ट द्याट हैन. त्यसपछि चाहिँ उहाँले कति टाइम दिन सक्नुहुन्छ, कति एफर्ट लाउन सक्नुहुन्छ, कति स्मार्ट हुनुहुन्छ भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ इज नट जेन्डर बायस्ड. अगेन दिस इज अपन त्यो पर्टिकुलर पर्सन हैन. अब त्यसपछि उहाँको पर्सनल लाइफले त्यसमा कति फरक पार्छ त्यो कुराहरू चाहिँ इज डिफ्रेन्ट वे. तर पर्सनल लाइफमा फेरि मेन र वुमेन दुईटालाई फरक पार्छ है, त्यो चाहिँ वी हेभ टु अन्डरस्ट्यान्ड. सो एटलिस्ट टेक कम्युनिटीमा we look for people who can work, अनि त्यति मात्रै कुरा is what we look for. 2 वर्ष रियाक्ट डेभलपर, 2 वर्ष एक्सपिरियन्स भएको रियाक्ट डेभलपर छ भने उसले पाउने स्यालेरी 1 लाख हुन्छ कि 1.5 लाख हुन्छ हैन. अब डिपेन्डिङ अपन उसले पहिला कतिवटा प्रोजेक्टहरू गरेको छ. रियाक्ट डेभलपर के अब त केटा होस् केटी होस्, दिस इज हाउ वी लुक फर पिपल. सो आई थिङ्क त्यो कुरा चाहिँ शुड बी एडप्टेड बाई एनी अदर इन्डस्ट्री. अनि यताबाट चाहिँ अब हामीले कसरी लर्न गर्न सक्छौँ यो कुरा हैन, किनकि हाउ वी लुक फर पिपल पनि माइट बी डिफ्रेन्ट. अरू इन्डस्ट्रिजले कसरी खोज्छ मान्छेहरू मेबी त्यो इज डिफ्रेन्ट. सो मेबी लर्निङ फ्रम टेक इन्डस्ट्री, किनकि टेक इन्डस्ट्रीभित्र चाहिँ आई फाइन्ड very less, I would say, like not exactly sure कि like हुन्छ नि छँदै छैन त भन्न मिल्दैन तर less biased situation अनि maybe there can be a discussion around कि tech industry बाट अरू industry ले कसरी learn गर्न सक्छ to adopt that. Yeah.
Okay, so मेरो चाहिँ यसमा I think I have 3 things to say. The first one is I absolutely agree with what Rohit Dai just said that हामीले जस्तो हामी as an organization हामीलाई चाहिँ मान्छेहरूले के गर्नुहुन्छ भने organizationsहरू आउनुहुन्छ अनि हामीलाई ल मलाई चाहिँ female engineers चाहियो भन्नुहुन्छ अनि हामी चाहिँ ल job description पठाउनुस् भन्छ अनि उहाँहरुकोमा 2 वर्ष अब यो स्ट्याकमा काम गरेको भनेर आउँछ अनि हामी खोज्छौं अनि हामीले 1 वर्ष गरेको भेट्टाउँछौं अनि हामी के भन्छौं भने हामी जान्छौं अनि 1 वर्ष गरेको छ फिमेलै हो हुन्छ भन्यो भने उहाँहरु हुन्छ भन्नुहुन्छ के अनि आई जस्ट गो ब्याक एन्ड देन स्टार्ट थिंकिङ अबाउट इट के कसरी हुन्छ तपाईलाई 2 वर्ष काम गरेको मान्छे चाहेछ सर्टेन स्ट्याकमा उले त्यो कुरा गर्न पनि राम्रोसँग सक्दैन उसँग 1 वर्षको एक्सपीरियन्स छ जस्ट बिकज शी इज अ फिमेल यु आर हायरिङ हर त्यो मेरो लागि एज अ फिमेल पनि अनफेयर हो के म आई डोन्ट वान्ट टु गेट हायर्ड दैट जस्ट बिकज दे आर हायरिङ मी बिकज आई एम अ फिमेल हैन सो यस वी नीड टु थिंक अबाउट ब्रिंगिङ दैट डाइभर्सिटी तर अब अर्गनाइजेसन्सहरुले के सोच्नु पर्यो भने किन डाइभर्सिटी चाहिन्छ मलाई टिममा भन्ने कुरा सोच्नु पर्यो के मलाई फिमेल चाहिन्छ भनेर सोच्ने हैन किन मलाई मेरो प्रोडक्टमा त्यो फिमेल पोइन्ट अफ भ्यू चाहिएको छ कि मलाई मेरो वर्क प्लेसको इन्भाइरोमेन्ट त्यसरी क्रिएट गर्न मन छ कि मेबी मलाई इक्वल ल्याउन मन छ किनभने आई वान्ट गिभ दैट प्लेस टु फिमेल हो कि यु हैव टु अन्डरस्ट्यान्ड मलाई चाहिँ यो अर्गनाइजेसन्सहरुको एकदम हुन्छ नि ढिप्पी लाग्छ के मलाई चाहिँ डाइभर्सिटी चाहिन्छ किन थाहा छैन के को लागि थाहा छैन हुन्छ नि सो जस्ट डोन्ट हायर हर बिकज शी इज अ फिमेल यस बिकज आई एम अ फिमेल आई डोन्ट वान्ट टु गेट हायर्ड बिकज म 1 वर्ष कम तर अगेन आई अल्सो हेभ अनदर पर्सपेक्टिभ अन दिस कि जस्ट बिकज शी इज अ फिमेल उसलाई हायर नगर्ने चाहिँ नगर्नुहोस् कि जस्तो उहाँले भन्नुभयो एचआरमा कुरा गर्दाखेरि मेरो बिहा हुन लाग्छ बिहा भनेको चाहिँ केटी मान्छेको लागि एउटा ब्ल्याक होल हो त्यहाँ भित्र छिर्यो बाहिर निस्किदैन मलाई डर लाग्छ बिहा गर्न बिकज द वे वी आर सेटिङ अप म्यारेज इज लाइक म एक्लैले बिहा गर्ने हो देयर इज अ अदर पर्सन हु इज अल्सो गोइङ टु गेट म्यारिड विथ मी एन्ड द्याट गाई इज अल्सो गोइङ टु उसको लाइफ चाहिँ केही चेन्ज हुँदैन उहाँले भने जस्तो 1 हप्ता छुट्टी लिन्छ फर्केर आउँछ म चाहिँ वाइ एम आई टेकन सो सिरियसली when I said I want to get married. And then similarly with having a baby, we both are going to get parents. Yes, I am the one who is bearing the child, but it's not different for that father as well. So त्यो इन्भाइरोमेन्ट चाहिँ हामी यस्तो बायसनेसले दिमागमा ल्याउँछौँ र यो चाहिँ कहाँबाट च्यालेन्ज हुँदो रहेछ भने हामी लिडरशिप पोजिसनमा आइपुग्नु भन्दा अगाडि वी वेयर अ लट अफ ह्याट्स रहेछ के वी आर अ मदर वी आर अ डटर वी आर सिस्टर वी आर अ फादर वी आर सन वी आर फ्रेन्ड वी आर बसेस वी आर लिडिङ हुन्छ सबै कुरा हाम्रो ह्याट छ के अनि हामी हरेक फेजमा त्यो बायसहरू गर्दै आइरहेको छ जस्तो उहाँले भन्नुभयो टोइज दिइन्छ भनेर मलाई याद छ मेरो घरमा मोबाइल आएको थियो फर्स्ट टाइम जमानामा अनि त्यो मोबाइल चलाउन चाहिँ मेरो दाइलाई दिएर ल यो फोन कसरी गर्ने हो सिक त अरे अनि मलाई चाहिँ कोही मान्छे आयो भने पानी लिन पठाउनु हुन्थ्यो के त्यो पानी उसले ल्याउन सक्दैन भन्दाखेरि जान्दैन अरे किन जान्दैन पानी ट्रेमा बोक्ने त हो नि भन्ने झगडा गर्थेँ कि म सो द्याट्स हाउ वी ट्रेन आवर हुन्छ नि माइन्डसेट अनि त्यही मेरो भाइ नै माथि पुग्छ ठुलो हुन्छ इन्जिनियरिङ क्लासमा जान्छ 2 जना केटी देख्छ फेरि माथि जान्छ टेक कम्पनीज लिड गर्छ अरू कुराहरू लिड गर्छ समवेयर डाउन द लाइन दे बिकम अ लिडर अर समवेयर डाउन द लाइन दे आर म्यानेजिङ समथिङ हैन सो यो बायसनेस भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ हामी एउटा पोइन्ट अफ भ्यूले हामी ब्रेकै गर्न सक्दैन हामीलाई सबै कम्पनीले सोध्नुहुन्छ कसरी इक्वल बनाउने हुँदैन किनभने हामी आज यहाँ बसेर इक्वालिटीको कुरा गरेर हुँदैन मलाई पनि यो कुरा अनलर्न गरेर रिलर्न गर्न कति टाइम लाग्यो मलाई कहिले पनि मेरो मामु त्यो डाइनिङ टेबलबाट उठेर सबैजना खाइरा बेला पानी लिन गएको प्रब्लमै लाग्दैन थियो तर अहिले यसो ब्याक गरेर सोच्छु माई फादर नेभर युज टु गेट अप he can also bring the water हो नि त सो यस्तो सानो कुरा इट्स नट अबाउट द वाटर के इभन वर्कफोर्समा पनि मलाई याद छ म एउटा सिभिल इन्जिनियरिङ सेक्टरको कम्पनी लिड गर्थेँ हुन्छ नि म लिडिङ पोजिसनमा थिएँ एन्ड देयर वर पिपल हु ह्याड टु लिसन टु मी इभन हुन्छ नि द गाई मेम्बर एन्ड एभ्रीबडी वाज सिभिल इन्जिनियर्स अब त्यो बेलामा मलाई के गाह्रो पर्थ्यो भने मैले उनीहरूलाई फिल्डमा पठाउनु पर्थ्यो मलाई चाहिँ फिमेल हायर गरौँ भनेर मैले 2-3 जना फिमेलसँग सेटअप पनि गरेँ उहाँले भने जस्तो अलिकति हच्किन छ के ला प्रोभिन्समा पठाउनु छ हुन्छ नि केही भइहाल्यो भने मैले के गर्ने बस चढेर जानुपर्छ आई अल्सो हेभ टु टेक माइसेल्फ अ लिटल बिट ब्याकवर्ड एन्ड थिङ्क पठाउँदा सेफ होला त बिकज म एउटा लिडरशिप पोजिसनमा छु एन्ड म आफै बायस भयो के त्यतिखेर मैले गरिनँ के त्यो कुरा एन्ड आई प्राउडली सेड आई डिडन्ट डु इट एन्ड देन राइट नाउ आई थिङ्क कि मैले एकचोटि चान्स लिनु पर्थ्यो बरु अलिकति सेफ्टी मेजर्सहरू लिएर पठाउन सकेको भए हुन्थ्यो सो दिस इज अ प्रोसेस हामी एभ्री ठाउँमा आफू मम्मी हुँदा आफू छोरी हुँदा आफू फ्रेन्ड हुँदा आफू बस हुँदा आफू इम्प्लोइ हुँदा आफू ट्रेनर हुँदा आफू ट्रेनी हुँदा एभ्री सिङ्गल फेज एन्ड ह्याड द्याट वी वेयर वी हेभ टु स्टार्ट ब्रेकिङ दिस बायसनेस र आफूलाई क्वेसन गर्नु पर्यो कि म यो बायसमा उभिरहेको छु कि छैन एम आई डुइङ इट माइसेल्फ सो आई हेभ लर्न टु डु दिस म एभ्री डे सम्झिन्छु कि मैले काहीँ केही बायसनेस गरेँ भनेर सो इट्स द जर्नी फर योर सेल्फ र त्यही मान्छे भोलि गएर तिम्रो कलिग लिडर सबैजना हुन्छ वाइ वी आर नट काउन्टेड एज अ लिडर्स बिकज वरिपरि त त्यही माइन्डसेटको बायस भएको मेल्सहरू हुनुहुन्छ या फिमेल्सहरू हुनुहुन्छ लाइक मी हु कुड नट टेक अ चान्स टु सेन्ड अ फिमेल टु फिल्ड होइन सो त्यो भएको भएर हामीले यो फेस गर्ने रहेछौँ कि मैले अहिले जति आफूलाई ब्याकवर्ड लिएर जान्छु द्याट्स वाट माई थट इज अन दिस
यही कुरामा अब आई थिङ्क आई हेभ अ भेरी सिमिलर भ्यू बट माई भ्यू कम्स फ्रम मी बिङ a very rebellious child since childhood. I generally don't take somebody asks me to do something, I would always ask why. Kina. So kina ko answer napasama, I'll not do it at all. So I'm the kind of person that probably malai pani khana gaira thyo, pani हात पुगिसक्यो होला, पानी खाऊ भन्यो भने खाँदिन के म भन्न किन जरुरी छ भन्ने टाइप के हैन अब किन खाने पानी सोधिहाल्छु के was not right but I'm just trying to say I had to argue or get that thing. Okay? So as a rebellious child, I realized one thing is what binds you is tradition. Okay? And if you go back, she mentioned it very rightly. It's that tradition that we have. So if you go back to tradition, even if you go back about 1.5 million years ago, right? That's when, let's say, Homo sapiens came up, right? So that's when tribes start forming. Before that, Neanderthals and Homo erectus, you didn't have language for tribes. When tribes came into being, what happened was, what's very important is, tribes, you needed to expand your tribe to become stronger, okay? And you couldn't really go out and recruit from different tribes. So what happened was, women had a role to play, to strengthen your tribe, to bear children. It was a very important role at the time. But after 1.5 million years, right, that role, त्यसको essence बुझेको छैन नि त रोलको why it was done today we follow a lot of traditions that way पहिला गरेको थियो I have a niece that had a gufa about I don't know 5 or 10 days ago and I asked her किन गरेको त हैन she told her answer was हैन यो त गर्नु पर्यो नि यो त हाम्रो ritual or tradition a 12-year-old kid tells me it's tradition you've built or you've educated them wrongly. Okay? Gufako kino garcha bhanera. Then I asked other people. Then they're like, when is the tradition? Somebody answered me कि पहिला सती हुन्थ्यो. So just to discourage sati for your particular community ma. So you had gufa. So you got them married thrice. So if you lost a husband, you didn't really have to jump into the fire, right? So if that was the case, sati is gone. Why are you doing this now? Now the answer is उनीहरुलाई रमाइलो लाग्छ. रमाइलो त लाग्छ ठीक छ रमाइलो गर्नलाई त so many other we send them for a movie एक हफ्ता movie गुफा किन गर्नु पर्यो so why do you have to do all of these things right but the tradition still survives and that tradition basically is one of the key factors whether it's at home where like she said mother going and probably getting the water this tradition really builds up in terms of our workforce जहाँ पनि अनि यही particular कुरा गर्दाखेरि this tradition also applies to like marriage भन्यो marriage को 5 दिन problem लाग्दैन के मलाई I think the newer workforce को newer companies like Rohit said I don't think in our workforce त्यो 5 दिन को ठाउँमा 2 हफ्ता लिन्छ भनेर I don't think we yes the older organizations operated that way I would see that but हाम्रो organization it's not that के it's the uncertainty के after marriage after a kid uncertainty if they're going to have a kid and they're going to be they're going to be on a leave for 6 months how can you have a leadership role lost for 6 months you've lost 6 months of your KPIs or performance in that particular division how would any manager or let's say an owner or let's say leader be okay with that right so why is that is because all our organizations is built on a particular tradition which has been built based on how men have built organizations for the last 1.5 million years. Our organizations are built that way. Like she said, if you do a basic analysis of men and women and look at the 16 personality types, I was just doing a research and I realized the 2 personalities which we as humans consider as leadership positions, which is the architect or INTJ, and the commander, which is the ENTJ. Only 20% are women in these 2 categories. Already this category, these 2 personality types only constitutes 4% of the total population in the world. 4%. General should be about 8%. 2 personality types is only 4%. Out of the 4%, only 1% are women. Hence, you will not see women in the workplace, because if you say 20% or 25% are women, 20% are women. Based on the personality type, because we see leaders as strong commanders. If we see that, we are going to see less women, because there are women who have come and attained that, but there's 1% women in that personality type. There's no difference. So I think how we see organizations slowly needs to basically change. It's not going to happen as a. Either organizations or traditions need to change, or we need to accept the fact that it's going to take a while. Equity is going to come, equality is not really how it's going to work. So I think it needs to be looked at that way. Just Thank you.
Is this the question, because you get to learn so many different perspectives as well. Shortma, I just wanted to pick up on things that the other panelists have shared, coming back to the question, which was, is the expectation from women leaders, is it skewed? महिला नेतृत्वबाट चाहिँ के हाम्रो expectations अलिक एकदम unrealistic छन् भन्दाखेरि कहाँ चाहिँ छैन रहेछ, what is best practice? कता चाहिँ राम्रो रहेछ भनेर अहिले सुने अनुसार टेक इन्डस्ट्रीमा र नट फर प्रफिटमा पनि एकदमै नै छन् भनेर के क्यारेक्टरिस्टिक्स रहेछ त उहाँहरूको इन्डस्ट्रीको जसले गर्दा चाहिँ त्यसलाई अलि बढी फेभरेबल र इक्विटेबल बनाएको जस्तो लाग्छ भनेदेखि देयर इज अलरेडी अ स्ट्रक्चर टु एड्रेस द इक्विटी फ्याक्टर हैन हामीले आई लुक ब्याक टु माई वर्क प्लेस वेयर आइभ लर्न फ्रम अ लट अहिलेको म जुन चाहिँ युनिभर्सिटीमा पनि काम गर्छु लाइक आई सेड 100% अफ लिडरशिप 100% अफ माई टिम वाज फिमेल 99% मेबी अनि त्यहाँनिर के थियो भनेदेखि इभन जुन चाहिँ लिडरशिपमा लिभ्सहरू जान्छ भन्नुभयो भने आई वर्कड देयर 2 years म पढिरहँदाखेरि बिकज समवन वाज अलवेज गोइङ अन म्याट लिभ इट वाज सो अमेजिङ बिकज समवन वुड अलवेज गो अन म्याट लिभ एन्ड देयर वाज अ पोजिसन and that organization has really stepped up its rankings, its position in the past few years. So what is there to learn from them भनेर लाग्दो रहेछ भने जब हामीले स्ट्रक्चरमा फोकस गर्दो रहेछौँ अर्गनाइजेसन्सको नेपालमा धेरै जसो आफ्नो छोटो 16 महिनाको एन्टरप्रेन्योरियल जर्नी सुरुवाती चरणमा चाहिँ के लाग्छ भनेदेखि हाम्रो वर्क प्लेसेस नेपालमा मोस्टली 80% person dependent or 20% structure dependent हुँदो रहेछ धेरै जसो स्पेशली स्टार्टअप्सहरू र सक्सेसफुल स्टार्टअप्स जुन चाहिँ आज यहाँ प्यानलमा धेरै नै I'm lucky to share the panel with you all is where you have 80% structure and 20% is what the person brings to the table, but you wouldn't be messed up if someone just quit tomorrow because your structures are so strong and then there are systems in place. So त्यसै गरेर when our workplaces become more system dependent, तब कोही mat leave मा जाओस्, maternity leave मा जाओस्, तब कोही paid work leave मा जाओस्, there are structures in place to address that as well. And त्यसले चाहिँ बढी equitable situation बनाउँछ कि जस्तो चाहिँ मलाई लागेको. So when we talk about is the expectations or our workplaces एकदमै धेरै unfavorable in many situations, yes, but when we look from people or industries or examples that are doing it right, the characteristics that I really see are there are structures in place that addresses things such as period holidays, right? Some people get really terrible cramps and there is always this debate of should that be allowed in sick leave or not. That's an unfair advantage. When I can have someone who doesn't get period cramps, why would I get someone who might get those leaves भनेर. So when your structure is really strong, you have casual workforce to take over that place. Then as an organization, also you grow stronger, Reza, when you don't become person dependent and certainly not gender dependent.
So मेरो केसमा चाहिँ म यसलाई कहाँ जोड्न चाहन्छु भन्दाखेरि जतिखेर इन्डस्ट्रियल रिभोल्युसन भयो जहाँ चाहिँ फिजिकल स्ट्रेन्थ वाज मोर on demand than the mental things हैन त्यहाँबाट चाहिँ यो सुरु भएको हो जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई भनेको अब यो बायस भएको हैन म तर फिजिकल स्ट्रेन्थ को बेसिसमा हेर्ने हो भने टु सम एक्सटेन्ट मेरिटमा छन् मेल हरू चाहिँ सो तर अब त्यो त अहिले चेन्ज भइसक्यो टोटली लाइक नेपाल जस्तै लिस्ट डेभलप्ड कन्ट्रीमा पनि मेजोरिटी अफ इन्डस्ट्री चाहिँ सर्भिस सेक्टरमा ड्रिभन छन् हैन भनेको त्यहाँ चाहिँ मेन्टल एबिलिटीले चाहिँ बढी रोल प्ले गरिरहेको छ तर माइन्डसेट चाहिँ के छ भन्दाखेरि अहिले पनि त्यही 1945 एन्ड अल त्यतिखेरकै माइन्डसेट बोकेर हिँडिरहेछौँ कि हामी अनि अर्को कुरा यहाँ च्यालेन्ज कहाँ पनि भइरहेको छ जस्तो लाग्छ भन्दाखेरि यो एक्सपेक्टेसनको कुरामा चाहिँ सो अब फिमेल वर्कफोर्सलाई चाहिँ मान्छेहरूले एक्स्ट्रा आवर दिन सक्छ र अथवा चाहिँ नि हुन्छ नि इनपुट ड्रिभन छ क्या आउटपुट ड्रिभन छैन कि हाम्रो अर्गनाइजेसनहरू चाहिँ भनेको हाउ मेनी आवर्स यु क्यान पुट इन्टु के हैन कति प्रोडक्टिभिटी निकाल्न सक्छौ भन्ने कुरामा चाहिँ छैन के हैन त्यो कुरा छ अर्को भनेको फेरि यो लिडरसिपको मेकानिजमहरू बिस्तारै समयले नै चेन्ज गराउँदैछ अथोरिटेटिभबाट चाहिँ आजको दिनमा चाहिँ कोअपरेटिभ लिडरसिपमा आउँदैछ क्या सोसाइटी भनेको त्यो एस्पेक्टमा त अभियसली आई क्यान सी लाइक वुमन आर द बेस्ट भन्छु क्या म त्यो कोअपरेटिभ अप्रोचमा हैन जुन हार्मोनी मेन्टेन गर्ने कुराहरूमा हैन सो लिडरसिपसँगको एक्सपेक्टेसन 1965 or 1945 मा चाहिँ गेट इट डन भन्ने थियो भने त्यो पनि हुकर क्रुकमा थियो भने आजको एक्सपेक्टेसन चाहिँ गेट इट डन नै हो तर हार्मोनियस वेमा अथवा चाहिँ नि कन्भिन्स पिपल टु डु इट हैन त्यो वेमा जाँदाखेरि चाहिँ आइ एम भेरी होपफुल के यो कुरामा हैन पोजिटिभ एक्सपेक्टमा चाहिँ मेरो चाहिँ यही हो थ्याङ्क यू
Yeah, thank you everyone for your insights. I think the situation is it's not at the place where we want it to be, but then there are new emerging startups or new emerging companies or new leadership in place which is thinking about this thing and bringing it up front. So with that, we wrap up our first segment and moving on to the next segment, which is opportunities for the workforce. What does the future look like? We did touch about a lot about society and the expectation from the society for women leaderships and stuff. So we have recently, every one of us have seen like there has been a steady growth in women leadership. We have been seeing companies and organizations that are being led and opened by female entrepreneurs as well. So what do you think the future looks like and how we as society can play a role or what we can do in terms of bringing female leadership in front and female led organization in front?
Hello. Yeah. So I think future of workplace है so अघि नै उहाँले राइटली भने जस्तै अब चाहिँ मान्छेले कति घन्टा काम गर्छ भन्दा पनि आउटपुट बेस्ड हुन्छ होला सो यति हुने बित्तिकै a lot of things that we discussed earlier would be automatically addressed जस्तो कि if leaves are needed for at least मानम कि महिनामा 7 दिन और त्यो पनि लाइक हुन्छ रिकरिङ लिभ्सहरू अनि और कसैलाई चाहिँ अब 3 महिनै बिदा चाहिन्छ भने पनि इफ त्यो एन्टायर अर्गनाइजेसनको स्ट्रक्चर और त्यो वर्कफोर्स जुन चाहिँ हामीले डेभलप गरेर छौँ और त्यो कल्चर जुन चाहिँ हामीले बिल्डअप गर्छौँ कम्पनीभित्र फ्युचरमा चाहिँ वुड बी त्यो केपिआइजहरू वुड बी सेट एज आउटपुट्स नट कि उहाँले कति आवर्स काम गर्नुहुन्छ अफिसमा 8 घन्टा 10 घन्टा 12 घन्टा दिनै पर्छ यो नहुँदाखेरि प्रब्लम हुन्छ राति होइन राति त 11 बजीसम्म एकजना केटीले यता अफिसमा आएर काम गर्न सक्दैन भन्ने जुन चाहिँ सोच छ यो कुरालाई चाहिँ हटाउनुको लागि खास यो पर्टिकुलर कुराले पनि हेल्प गर्छ होला उहाँले घरमा बसेर गरोस् उहाँले चाहिँ एक दिन पहिल्यै काम सकाओस् उहाँलाई दिएको सबै कुराहरू उहाँले कम्प्लिट गर्नुहुन्छ भने त्यो लिबर्टी चाहिँ उहाँले दिन सक्यौँ भने मेबी दिस इज वेयर वी आर मुभिङ इफ यु लुक एट वर्कफोर्स जुन चाहिँ अहिले हामीले गिग इकोनोमी जुन चाहिँ भनिरहेछौँ सबै प्लेटफर्म्सहरू सबै सेयर्ड मार्केट्सहरू होइन अनि सेयरिङ इकोनोमी जसरी बुमअप भइरहेछ आई थिङ्क त्यो पनि इज भेरी रिलेटेड टु दिस के सो आई वुड वान्ट टु वर्क वेन आई वान्ट टु वर्क अनि त्यो फ्रिडम एउटा दिने बित्तिकै द्याट लिबर्टी इज फर एनी जेन्डर अनि त्यो कुराले गर्दा पनि होला यो डिफ्रेन्ट प्लेटफर्म्सहरू आर वर्किङ एकदम राम्ररी स्केलिङ एकदमै क्विकली यो पर्टिकुलर टाइममा सो त्यो कुरा एड्रेस हुने बित्तिकै अ लट अफ थिङ्स द्याट वी डिस्कस वुड बी डेफिनेटली केटेड टु अनि विल सी अब उहाँले भने जस्तै अगेन धेरै कुराहरू डिस्कस भइसक्यो यो टाइममा त्यो लाइक हुन्छ नि त्यो हार्ड लेबर नै गेट इट डनवाला जुन चाहिँ पहिलाको फिलोसफी थियो त्यो हेज चेन्ज होइन अहिले पनि गेट इट डनवाला छ तर त्यो कुराको लागि चाहिँ द वर्क फोर्स द्याट वी रिक्वायर्ड देन एन्ड द वर्क फोर्स द्याट वी रिक्वायर नाउ एन्ड इन फ्युचर इज भेरी डिफ्रेन्ट द सिनारियो हेज चेन्ज द वर्ल्ड हेज इभल्भ होइन अनि त्यो कारणले गर्दा I see good time like हुन्छ नि for any kind of workforce around the world नि.
Nobody's going, so. So future of workforce, I'm not too much into predicting the future. I'm more of a person who present भन्दा पनि I am a guy who wants to make his own future, but I don't think I can predict somebody else's. But I like to look at the past and see how things would go in the future and say ki probably this is what is going to happen. The way, like Rohit has already mentioned, there's a lot of new economies that are growing, whether it's the sharing economy, where the COVID situation, like the work from home, that's going to change. Like some of the problems that we've already probably addressed, some of those problems can be addressed. Anushka mentioned structure, and we've already mentioned KPIs. So output driven, obviously that would help. Period holidays, etc. This is output driven, so somebody can already cover up the next day. When I see is leadership gap generally. Leadership is not a position that sometimes you can manage by structure, KPIs, because presence is going to be important. Until we don't resolve that issue, where again, I always say presence is not an issue. The problem is with our understanding, like understanding to make it equitable, make it easy, at the same time expect different results, right? I believe that women need to start believing that if women need to be in leadership position, this generation really need to do things that you don't think is equal or it's not equitable. Because I see every caste, every race, every tribe, or any of it which has had to fight for equality, at least a generation or a couple of generations always had to sacrifice things that were very dear to them. It has never come to equity just like that. Whether you look at the American, African American, or the black society in America, they've had to struggle. It's not going to be equitable by just saying, you'll require role models who are willing to go beyond what is expected of that particular race, or I think that's going to be a major difference. Because like हामी यहाँ सबै अघि बस्दाखेरि who is your superhero भन्दाखेरि we all came up with the answer as mother, because we can't think of too many role models. So I have this wall called, in my office I have a wall of 9, I have 9 frames there, right? So one of my team members came and said, they're all men, why can't you have women there? And I asked that question. I said, do I put a woman there because I should make it equitable, or because I have no women role model except for 2 people and they don't have good quotes to put on the wall? So that's basically 9 quotes of 9 people that are role models. And I have 2 women that I think about, but they don't have good quotes to put on the wall. And that's 9. I have 90 men I can put quotes of. So women require more role models. And role models are going to come out of sacrifice, because those 9 people have made huge amount of sacrifices, and a lot of women have, but in their homes. As mothers, you've made amazing sacrifices, but it's not the sacrifices that women want today. They want equitable in the workplace. If you want equitable in the workplace, there will have to be women who make amazing amount of sacrifices in the workplace. Because all of us, we see our mothers as superheroes or role models, and we do. There's no question about it. I don't think more than 20% of the people will not look at the mother and say, oh, I don't really see my mother as somebody who I look up to. Everybody does, just not in the workplace. I think that's majorly one difference, that I think future of work will require more women as role models. Rest, I think, yes, everybody's covered it. Probably more going to cover is the way things are moving. There will be more equity going in. It's made it easier for equity, and with the traditional organizations taking a backseat, like tech coming forward. Traditional organization, whether it is heavy sales-driven organization where people need to travel 25 days a month, would not be possible for every girl or a woman, because she would want to see her kid, where a father would be a little less inclined to do it. He's happy to go 25. So those areas are reducing. I think more with technology taking a step forward now, I think equity is going to come. The workplace is going to look a lot different. It already has, I think. Hamro industries, it looks a lot different than when I used to work in different industries in the last 2 or 3 years. It's completely different, I think.
I'd just like to request to keep your answer short. We are running out of time.
What does the future look like? I think there was another question for anecdote. I'm not sure if we were going to go there, so I'm going to share my answer here. Future kasto dekhincha ta bhanera absolutely agreeing with what everybody said about learning from the past, building structures for the future, being very much output driven. Alikati internally pani हामीले reflect गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ as women. Just a small incident, when I was working at the Commonwealth Bank, graduation पछि, I really wanted to apply for another role. म चाहिँ audits team मा काम गर्थेँ, and I really wanted to go to AML, anti-money laundering. And there was a list of job requirements. अनि by that time धेरै कुराहरू सिकाउँछ exposure ले. एउटा कुरा चाहिँ के सिकाइसके थियो भनेदेखि आफूलाई केही चीज बन्न मन छ, कतै पुग्न मन छ, र यदि त्यहाँको कोही चिन्छ भनेदेखि सोध्नलाई नहिचकिचाउनु. हामी युजुअली आफूभन्दा 2-3 लेभल माथिलाई चाहिँ सोध्न अलिकति अप्ठ्यारो मान्छौँ. अघि पनि त्यही शेयर गर्दै थिएँ. त त्यतिखेरसम्म त्यो एउटा सिकाइ चाहिँ भइसकेको हुनाले मैले मेरो boss was a female. So over tea break, because she was managing both AML and audit, so I asked her, do you have 5 minutes? मलाई एउटा कुरा सोध्न मन थियो भनेर मलाई आफुलाई भित्र लागिरहेको कुरा. अनि मैले के भनेदेखि this job requiring experience and experience requiring job, how do I break that? Because I want to go to this new department. तर यसमा चाहिने मसँग सबै qualifications नै छैन. तर म यहाँ हुँदा हुँदै मैले त्यो qualification कसरी पाउने, मलाई कस्तो गाह्रो भयो भनेर भन्थे मैले. And surprising, that was not the answer that I expected from her. And she said, you know, Anushka, if there was a boy sitting in your place, he would have already applied. What's the worst that would have happened? So that was not an answer I was expecting. So she said, we as girls have this intrinsic need to tick everything on that list before you consider yourself worthy to apply for anything. हो त्यसमा 10 वटा कुरामा तपाईले 5 वटा गर्न सक्छौ होला, तिमीले 5 वटा गर्न सक्दैन होला, तिमीले त्यसलाई कसरी गर्छौ भनेर, because यो जुन चाहिँ challenge छ तिमीलाई, I see this a lot and I feel that has to change भनेर. The answer that she gave to me, this was in 2019, just before I left everything and came over here, so I remember that very clearly. अनि त्यो चाहिँ मलाई एकदमै घात लागेको कुरा चाहिँ थियो कि for the future what has to change. हामीले सबै अहिले कुरा गरेका external कुराहरू हुन्, what we can do as a community as external factors, but perhaps what can change, what should change, what reflection should come to us as people who identify ourselves as women is that intrinsic need to tick everything on the box before we consider ourselves worthy of even applying. त्यसको मतलब आटे नभएर आफू underqualified by position मा ड्याङ I deserve this भन्दै जानु होइन कि, तर अलिकति आत्मविश्वास र आँट चाहिँ हामी आफैबाट भित्रबाट पनि आउनु पर्ने रहेछ to consider ourselves worthy of being in that position.
I think a lot of things has already been addressed. तर म चाहिँ अलिकति towards organization side बाट भन्छु. मलाई चाहिँ एउटा खुशी चाहिँ के लाग्छ भने अघि मैले भन्न चाहिँ किन डाइभर्सिटी चाहिन्छ अर्गनाइजेसनमा भनेर सोच्छु, तर मलाई आफैलाई पनि यो एउटा फर्स्ट स्टेप हो जस्तो लाग्छ. किनभने पहिला त माइन्डसेटमा आउनु पर्यो, त्यसपछि एक्सनमा चेन्ज हुन्छ नि त. सो अहिले चाहिँ एभ्री अर्गनाइजेसन इफ यु गो थ्रु, बिकज वी वर्क विथ अ लट अफ अर्गनाइजेसन, वी पार्टनर विथ देम, हामीले देख्छौँ कि एभ्रीबडी वान्ट्स द्याट डाइभर्सिटी इन द्याट टिम. दे आर लुकिङ आउट फर इक्वल टिममेट्स. सबै कुरा उहाँहरूले खोज्नुहुन्छ अहिले. त्यो एउटा कुरा चाहिँ एकदम इन्ट्रेस्टिङ छ फर अस टु सी. अनि देयर आर अर्गनाइजेसन्स वर लिडिङ बाई एक्जाम्पल्स पनि. जस्तो हामी अस्ति भर्खरै एउटा अर्गनाइजेसन, आई डोन्ट वान्ट टु टेक द नेम, वी वेन्ट देयर एन्ड वी वर ह्याभिङ अ मिटिङ एन्ड द सिइओ अफ द्याट अर्गनाइजेसन सेड द्याट आई टेक वुमेन वर्क प्लेसमा हरासमेन्ट चाहिँ म एकदमै सिरियसली लिन्छु. देयर इज नो फर इट, बी इट yes, be it no. If she feels it like that, it's just there for us भन्नुभयो के. So that's the kind of environment that we need. That's the kind of boss I need to work with. They have to understand how it feels being a woman and then also experiences these things. And also अहिले चाहिँ मैले एउटा सानो चेन्जेसहरू अर्गनाइजेसन भित्रै पनि देखिरहेको छु. मैले भोगेको कुरा, म जुरुको उठेर काहीँ जाँदाखेरि पहिला अफिसमा मेरो खाली बोतलमा पानी भर्न जाँदै थिएँ, मेरो अर्को कलिगले मेलिसा पानी भरेर ल्याइदेऊ न भन्नुहुन्थ्यो. अनि मलाई प्रब्लम लाग्दैन थियो, पानी नै हो, म ल्याइदिन्थेँ. त्यसपछि मैले 2-3 दिन नोटिस गरेँ कि अरू सबै उठेर टुई टोइलेट गइरहेछ, नोबडी इज आस्किङ देम. अनि whenever I get up, they want me to bring that water bottle filled हैन अनि यस्तो यस्तो छ कफी बनाइदेऊ न हुन्छ नि it's not about I'm capable enough to give them a cup but you are also capable enough to make your coffee on your own हैन so मलाई रिजर्भेसन चाहिदैन मलाई म बसमा गएको बेला तिमी केटा भएर जुरुक्क उठेर मलाई बस्न दिनु पर्दैन I don't need that but just give me that equal opportunity when it's there I'm not just हुन्छ नि त्यो मलाई पानी भर्नु was not a problem but मलाई त्यो mindset मा problem लाग्यो so बिस्तारै यो mindsetsहरु चाहिँ आफैले we as a female are also addressing हामी आफै भन्दै छौं के यो wrong हो है घरमै पनि म मेरो मम्मीलाई अहिले गाली गर्छु के when she becomes a little bit more sympathetic अनि बिचारा भएपछि I tell her हैन है this is not the way to deal with so now we अझ मेरो बहिनी त झन् खतरा हुन्छ नि I look at her and I look she needs to teach me what exactly feminism is because she knows it there then and there she knows where to pin what is wrong what is right. She just speaks up for herself and I see that happening in next generation they know it and then I think that's what kind of female we need to bring in they have to know they have to question they have to understand they have to have confidence and then they have to go beyond and say that okay this is the bias I'm facing and I don't want that so that is something that I see that's changing because मैले त चेन्ज गरेर रिलर्न गर्दै आइरा छु भने I think अबको generation will do that and if they start doing it it happens eventually so that's what I see
so मेरो अघिको आन्सर चाहिँ अहिलेको क्वेशनको भयो जस्तो छ हैन टु एड अप हैन अब लिडरशिप रोलमा चाहिँ अहिले अघि मैले भने जस्तै चेन्जहरु आउँदैछ अर्गनाइजेसनमा कल्चर म्यानेजर अथवा डीएनए म्यानेजमेन्टको कुराहरु हैन अथवा चाहिँ नि यो हाम्रो एक्सपीरियन्स म्यानेजमेन्टको कुराहरु यो कुराहरु चाहिँ अगाडि आउँदैछ के अहिले नयाँ अर्गनाइजेसनहरुमा भनेको दे आर टेकिङ इट सिरियसली के भनेको अब त्यो कुरामा चाहिँ एम्पैथी चाहिन्छ अथवा चाहिँ नि छुट्टै पर्सपेक्टिभ चाहिन्छ हैन सो एज द लिडरशिपको यो डेफिनेसन चाहिँ इभल्भ हुँदै जान्छ यही कुराको अराउन्डमा भनेको जसले चाहिँ एक्सपीरियन्सलाई म्यानेज गर्न सक्छ मान्छेको डीएनए लाई म्यानेज गर्न सक्छ कल्चरलाई म्यानेज गर्न सक्छ हैन त्यो मान्छे चाहिँ लिडरशिप पोजिसनमा अलिकति अपलिफ्ट हुँदै जान्छ र त्यो म्यानेज गर्ने क्यापेसिटी चाहिँ मोर अफ अ लाइक फिजिकल स्ट्रेन्थ भन्दा पनि अलिकति पिकुलर टाइपको हुन्छ त्यो भनेको नट जस्ट वुमेनले मात्रै म्यानेज गर्न सक्ने हैन होला तर बट देन दिस इज वेयर इट कम्स टु लाइक वुमेन चाहिँ लिडरशिपमा अझ अगाडि आउने अपर्चुनिटी चाहिँ त्यसले लिएर आउँछ जस्तो लाग्छ क्या मलाई अब कमिङ डेजमा अरु त अघि भनेकै कुरा हो हस् थ्यांक यू
Yeah, thank you everyone. I think one thing on the diversity that I share frequently about is a quote by Shirley Sandberg on her book Lean On. Just mentioned only when she was pregnant, she realized how it is difficult ki afno car park garnako lagi office nazikeko space nabhaikana you had to work like blocks back, park it and then walk blocks back to get into the office. And त्यति बेलामा त she realized कि ए म मात्र हैन अरु pregnant employees in the office have to do it. So then she stood up and talked about why pregnant female employees would need a parking nearby the office. So that's where, until and unless you have been in the shoes, you will never be able to point it out. You issue reason. So I think having that, because of that reason, the diversity at place is important. It's not just for females, for even for like differently able people, we would never know what needs to be done because we have never been in their shoes. So having that input is equally important. Ani discussion garday jandakeri one thing that hit me a bit was is it that the female leadership that is there, one, it's equal exposure na paunu bhako ki bhanera. There's a book called Girls Who Rebel, and the book was made by someone, I forgot the name. तर उहाँको चाहिँ main vision while creating the book चाहिँ के थियो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ telling stories to kids, bedtime stories, just matter they are not about like love stories or romantic stories, where to book matter there are stories about women who have broken the biases and have created a space for themselves in different sectors, education sector, corporate sector. And the essence was key, when you make your girl child or your boy child, not being biased again, listen to those stories, it would inspire one essence. So it might have been key. One of the challenges that the female leaderships have faced is not getting the equal level of exposure as their male counterparts, or not getting the equal voice in the table. So what would be your takes in going, this is going into our thought topic, challenge for women to progression leadership roles. What are these kind of challenges and what can we do in terms of addressing it in in the workspace.
अब चाहिँ मैबाट सुरु गरौँ है. सो अब एक्सपोजरको कुरा गर्नुपर्दाखेरि चाहिँ अब लिडरसिप रोलमा आफूलाई चाहिँ अगाडि बढाइ हुँदै जाँदाखेरि डिफ्रेन्ट रोल्समा मान्छे काम गर्छ, अडप्ट गर्छ त्यो सँगसँगै, र फेरि त्यसमा अलिकति राम्रो भयो भने फेरि नेक्स्ट रोल भन्ने कुराहरू आउँछ. सो यहाँनिर च्यालेन्ज चाहिँ मैले अलिकति के देख्छु भन्दाखेरि अझै पनि अब बिसाइड सम कम्पनीज जो चाहिँ अलिकति रिभोल्युसनरी आइडियाजहरूमा काम गरिराख्नु भएको छ अथवा ट्रान्सफर्मेटिभ एक्टिभिटिजहरू गरिराख्नु भएको छ, पर्टिकुलरली इन टेक सेक्टर. त्यहाँ बाहेक अरू ठाउँमा चाहिँ मेरो पास्ट एक्सपिरियन्स अनुसार एक्सपोजर इन टर्म्स अफ चाहिँ अब अघि कुरा आएको थियो फिल्ड भिजिटको, 25 दिन फिल्ड भिजिट जानुपर्दा के गर्ने त भन्ने कुरा हैन, अथवा चाहिँ विदिन अर्गनाइजेसन नै पनि सर्टेन लेभल अफ ट्रेनिङ एन्ड डेभलपमेन्ट एक्टिभिटिजहरू अहिले कम्पलसरी जस्तै छ हैन, त्यसको सेलेक्सनको कुराहरूमा होला, अथवा चाहिँ अन द जब एक्सपोजरकै कुराहरू होला. भनेको च्यालेन्जिङ असाइनमेन्टहरू दिँदाखेरि त्यहाँ जेन्डर बायसनेस छ कि छैन भनेको. अनि अर्को भनेको लिडरसिपको आफ्नो म्यानेजमेन्टमा भएको वुमन रिप्रेजेन्टेटिभ माथिको ट्रस्टको कुराहरू होला. यो सबै कुरा फ्याक्टरहरूले चाहिँ म्याटर गर्छ हैन. यो सबै फ्याक्टरहरूमा चाहिँ अगेन फेरि अल्टिमेटली आउने भनेको माइन्डसेट नै हो. भनेको त्यो अर्गनाइजेसन जसले ड्राइभ गरिराख्नु भएको छ उहाँको माइन्डसेट के छ त. मैले एउटा एड हेरेको थिएँ कि लास्ट विक मात्रै हो, इन्डियन मिडियामा नै हो हैन. अब त्यो एडको कन्टेक्स्ट चाहिँ मलाई अलिकति एक्सप्लेन गरिदिन्छु म. सो अघि प्रेग्नेन्सीको केसमा कतिको गाह्रो हुन्छ भन्ने कुरा थियो नि. सो यसमा अब यो कुरा चाहिँ एडबाट एउटा इन्डियन कम्पनीले रिफ्लेक्ट गरेको थियो क्या. सो वाट आई वान्ट टु से इज यो कम्पनीले विदिन अ कम्पनी मात्रै एडभोकेट गर्न जरुरी छैन क्या यो कुराहरू. सो कर्पोरेट ब्रान्डिङमा यो कुरा किन आउँदैन हैन अर्गनाइजेसनको. भनेको लेट्स से वुमेन्स डेमा चाहिँ एउटा क्रिएटिभ बनाएर पोस्ट गरेर ह्याप्पी वुमेन्स डे एन्ड अल हैन, यो एउटा कोट राखेर हुने त हैन नि त. थ्रु आउट द इयर नै विथिन अर्गनाइजेसनको वुमेनहरूलाई चाहिँ हामीले कतिजनालाई चाहिँ अगाडि लिएर आउँछौँ क्या. ल फेसबुक लाइभमै मैले चाहिँ मेरो एचआर म्यानेजरलाई वाइ नट आई गिभ एक्सपोजर के टु टक अबाउट लिडरसिप एन्ड अल हैन. भनेको आउटबाउन्ड कतिको बनाउन चाहन्छु मेरो वुमेन वर्कफोर्सलाई म भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ त्यो लिडरको माइन्डसेटमा डिपेन्ड गर्ने कुरा हो कि. यो जति हामी ओपन हुँदै जान्छौँ त्यति एक्सपोजर बढ्दै जान्छ कि. मेरो चाहिँ यो हस्. थ्याङ्क यू.
सो यो क्वेसनलाई चाहिँ मैले कसरी बुझेँ भने मैले आफूले, किनभने अघि हजुरले एकदम पर्सनली नै बेड टाइम स्टोरी, सो मैले पर्सनली मैले अघि भनिहालेँ, मैले ठाउँ मलाई चाहिँ के लाग्छ भने एज अ फिमेल हामी जहिले कुरा गर्ने कुरा हो, देयर इज अ लट अफ लुप होल्स. हामी हरेक ठाउँमा कुनै न कुनै कुराबाट कुनै न कुनै फेजमा बायस फेस गर्छौँ. यहाँ हजुरले 3 जना फिमेल देख्नुहुन्छ, हजुरले सोध्नु भयो भने हामी मध्ये दुईटा कुरा कमन हुन्छ. हामीले काहीँ न काहीँ कुनै न कुनै कुरामा हामीले बायस फेस गर्छौँ. तर बायस हरेक ठाउँमा छ कि. एभ्री स्टेप द्याट वी टेक, स्कुलबाट कलेज आउँदा कलेजमा ल्याबमा टिचरले यस्तो फर्केर केटा हो भनेर क्वेसन सोद्धा, त्यसपछि इन्जिनियरिङ क्लासमा म्याथको क्वेसन चाहिँ केटालाई सोधेर केटीलाई चाहिँ छ कि छैन जस्तो गर्दाखेरि. सो एभ्री सेक्टरमा एभ्री पाइलामा बायस हुन्छ. बीट एनीवेयर, बीट एनी सेक्टर आइ एम टकिङ अबाउट. इभन मैले नर्स डक्टर्सहरूमै पनि मैले त्यो पे ग्यापको कुराहरू कति सुन्छु. मैले भने नि त्यो आई कान्ट इभन इमेजिन द्याट इफ देयर इज नो बायसेस भनेर. देयर आर हैन. यति मात्रै कुरा हो कि तिमी कस्तो मान्छेसँग काम गरिरहेछौ, तिम्रो फ्यामिली कस्तो छ, तिमीले कसरी भोगिरहेछौ या भोगिरहेछौ कि छैनौ, तर समवेयर डाउन द लाइन यु आर गोना गेट इट हैन. सो त्यही हो. मैले आफ्नो वर्क फोर्समा पनि मैले अघि भने पानी भर्ने, कफी बनाउनेदेखि लिएर गएर अ लट अफ थिङ्स. अनि सिस्टमेटिक चेन्ज, जस्तो मलाई कम्पनी दर्ता गर्न जानु पर्यो, मेरो 2 जना केटा साथीहरू थियो, मैले चाहिँ के गरेँ भने अब कोठामा जानुपर्छ नि त. अनि 4वटा पेपर लिएर हामी बाटो भएर 4वटा कोठामा गयौँ कि छिटो हुन्छ भनेर. म गएको मेरो साइनै गरिदिँदैन, उनीहरूको सकाएर आइसक्यो. के भयो भनेको त तपाईँले नै हो कम्पनी दर्ता गर्ने भनेर मेरो मुखमा हेरेर 3 चोटि सोध्नुहुन्छ उहाँले. अनि म भनिरहेको छु मै हो कि सिइओ भन्छु, तपाईँको उमेर कति भयो भनेर सोध्नुहुन्छ. म त वाइ Why is that even necessary? माथिदेखि तलसम्म मलाई हेर्नुहुन्छ अनि त्यसपछि यस्तो सानो सानो नानी छ भन्नुहुन्छ म त I am surprised के what it is to do with मेरो आफ्नो एज मेरो लिडर मेरो काम सोध न मेरो कुरा सोध मेरो पर्सपेक्टिभ सोध where I work how I work सोध मेरो क्वालिफिकेसन सोध why do you what is it to do with my age my gender my height my clothing That's not necessary. I face this every single day because my height is a little bit short. I'm 25 years old. I'm a managing director. Nobody believes it. They're questioning me every single time. And my co-MD similar. She's here. She's also heighted like me. We are both similar kind of age. Nobody believes us. अनि हामीलाई कहिलेकाहीँ त फिल हुन्छ कि कसलाई लिएर जाने हुन्छ नि सो यस्तो यस्तो प्रब्लम्सहरू every single day every single time we face it and within our cultures पनि there is a lot of things that we so मैले if यहाँ बसेर every पाइलाको pinpoint of biases गर्ने भने I've been through a lot of things a lot even मलाई याद छ म US travel गरिरहेको थिएँ I was going through US embassy को professional program म जाँदाखेरि मेरो भिजा हेर्नु मेरो मुखमा हेर्नु फेरि मेरो भिजा हेर्नु फेरि मेरो मुखमा हेर्नु यति धेरै ट्राभल गरिरहेछ तपाईको बाबा बाहिर हुनुहुन्छ हो भनेर सोध्नु मैले होइन म मेरो प्रोफेसनल क्वालिफिकेसनको कारणले देश विदेश गएको हो भनेर भने दे डिडन्ट बिलिभ मी मलाई 15 मिनेट त्यहाँ राख्नुभयो सबै डकुमेन्ट चेक गर्नुभयो अनि बल्ल त्यो लेटर भेटाएपछि तीनचोटी त्यो लेटर पढ्नुभयो अनि बल्ल मेरोमा स्ट्याम्प हानेर मलाई पठाउनुभयो whereas the male colleagues they going to हुन्छ नि there is where every systemic approach everywhere there is a bias it's all about what kind of people you're working with if you're facing it or not but somewhere down the line we're going to face it.
So what does the future look like for exposure? के exposure नै नपाएको हो भन्ने जुन चाहिँ तपाईको प्रश्न रहेको छ I think about a year ago UG Cakes ले चाहिँ आफ्नो 8th anniversary मनाउनु भएको थियो जस्तो लागेको थियो अनि she's been featured in they have been featured in Forbes 30 under 30 as well Nikita and she had very kindly invited 8 women entrepreneurs and the reason she said was this उहाँको आफ्नो anniversary मा उहाँले सबैतिर women entrepreneur भनेर मलाई मात्र बोलाउनुहुन्छ यति धेरै जना हुन्छ कसैलाई थाहै छैन त्यसैले for everyone wanting to add diversity to their panel these are the women भनेर she had invited 8 women entrepreneurs and I thought that was so commendable एउटा त आफ्नो platform आफ्नो anniversary मा you are sharing the limelight I feel that is very important as well like Abhushan also said कि quotes हरु लिने बेलामा I want to have 9 quotes that inspire and they happen to be all from men I didn't choose them because they were from men I just chose 9 best quotes and they happen to be from men that is absolutely right so exposure एकदमै necessary छ यस्तो कुराहरुमा त्यो पाटोमा चाहिँ आजकल त मिडिया हामी सबैजनाको हातमा छ that has become incredible कति धेरै एउटा सेक्टर्स मा चाहिँ हामीलाई थाहा नभएको पनि हुन सक्छ र त्यसको विभिन्न कारण हुन सक्छ थाहा नभएको भन्छ नि the hunter writes the story because the lion can't भनेर कति ठाउँहरुमा चाहिँ कसले इतिहास लेख्यो त त्यसलेमा पनि फरक पर्दै जान्छ had the good fortune of attending political literacy for women भनेर एउटा क्लास हुने गर्छ 12 दिनको त्यो अटेन्ड गर्दाखेरि the things that were taught जुन चाहिँ हामीले मेनस्ट्रीम मिडियामा सुन्दै आउँदैनम कि who were the female contributors in Nepali history भन्दाखेरि that was very eye opening as well because mainstream मिडियामा त्यो विभिन्न कारणले गरेर आइरहेको छैन so as normal citizens, both male and female, do we have that responsibility to research diversity after life perhaps, perhaps not. But in terms of exposure, it is absolutely crucial because there has been incredible contribution done by women also in the workplace, not just our families. If we read about women about the creation of computers Netflix originals who were the women in workplace that made projects happen. That exposure is incredibly important and I feel digital media has been very helpful in shedding that light, giving credit where it has been due, and that exposure will only help benefit the absolutely integral role models that is required for the next generation to continue to believe that we can get there as well.
Okay, kura garda garda, I'm just going back to a few conversations that were happening and then I'll get back to this point again. I know. Conversation Gordakiri, there is a discussion, I mean, there was a point about how companies are trying to adopt diversity since we're on record here. So mostly the new age companies are going for diversity, but let's be very real about all of these things, right? They're going for diversity because they need workforce. And men workforce are almost going to deplete. And women can't be part of their workforce. So they do these things. Like he said, Women's Day Mayo, तीजको एउटा गर्ने. See, these are all the problem with all of this generally is हाम्रो मेरो अफिसमा नि हुन्छ. So I keep asking तीजमा किन? Women's Day, where is Men's Day? Just as a joke, because my HRs are women, so I like just. But the point being is, you sabai gardakiri, it's not necessarily the companies are not doing it for that purpose. Okay? They're doing it because it needs to. What about now if you want equity in the entire world? Hami jaile pani leaders like how many, what is the percentage of leaders in the Fortune 500 companies? So what is the companies that are the companies that we're talking about? How many companies are there? What is the percentage of leadership in those companies? Then probably the data is correct. Now if you have got oil companies sitting there and you've got companies where you don't really need women in those organizations at the moment, because like you said, we've got to understand one thing is very clear, is we need to understand key gender traits huncha ke. We're not equals. Right? And equality does not mean one is bigger or one is stronger or one is better than the other. It just means that we're not equals. Women are much better than us in so many other ways, and we are so much better than women in so many other ways. Just happen to be history allowed stronger men for the last 1.5 million years. It just, history changed that way. Kings were made out of strength, not out of wisdom. And whenever there was wisdom, there has been women in history that has ruled the world. And you look at England with Queen Elizabeth, or still Queen Elizabeth, you've always seen women where wisdom was required, the time required wisdom. So oiliko time, if we expect women to become men in workforce, it is not going to work. This is the expectation for where diversity. So leadership ma kasari jane? That's the question. How do we bring that in leadership? They will require, like you said, Sheryl Sandberg, they will require some women at the top who understands women and make the organizations more diversified, not by counting heads, but by the structures and the policies and the systems. Where organization, because still we have to understand, if there is another company or another organization which is a competitor, and that competitor is operating better than us, because we are willing to provide provisions which make us uncompetitive, no company is going to do it. Your share prices are going to fall. You as a CEO is going to get fired sooner or later. He or she is really not going to do it. Right? So to make that happen, you require women to come up. You require more women, because one woman is not going to do it. In an industry, you require enough women to actually change, because one woman really cannot do it, because she will be under pressure to perform, right, and not make policies that are, so to bring transformational change, you need more women to the leadership. And this is the chicken and egg story coming in. Okay? How do you have more women? Like I said, you don't need women to become men, but you need women to become stronger women. Right? A question she already said is, kino sodha najane ta, when men have already applied. Right? Why is this question even there? Right? Stronger women require to understand that I am fighting for the next generation. Until we think it's our own fight. So it's good to have women here, especially who's actually sitting here and talking about, I mean, everybody's talking about women, but she in particular, she is leading an organization for, so it's nice to see women like that, because that is what is going to bring change. Frankly, Rohit, me, him, we're not. We're privileged gender. In workplace. At home, probably not. But, you know, in workplace, we're the privileged gender. So really, there's no reason for us to bring that equity necessarily, unless there is a requirement for a workforce that is available with the women. Like I said, one company doesn't even have 10%, because it's not necessary. Even my VP, where I keep telling him, it brings some equity, they're like, try gareko tara kamai gardaina, etc. Right, so that's going to happen. But I think that's generally my answer.
A few things. I think exposure ke kurama chai suruma chai, I think it's important if, like, for example, malai kasaile kunai position ko lai apply gara, yeah, because you're a woman garchau bhane bhane म त shamelessly गर्छु भनिदिन्छु हैन. Yes, so womenले गर्दा women भएको भएर पाएको यो opportunity होला म गर्दिन्छु. But I think it shouldn't end there. I always think about म त आए, then how can I bring more women like me? हैन, people like me चाहिँ म कसरी अगाडि ल्याउ भन्ने चाहिँ सोच्नु पर्छ है. So I think opportunity पायो लिन्छ भन्दा पनि म त भनिदिन्छु shamelessly म त लिदिन्छु. but I always look at like how म पछि then like अरु यस्तै opportunity आयो भने चाहिँ म जस्तो अरु मान्छेलाई कसरी ल्याउने भनेर अर्को चाहिँ एक्सपोजरकै कुरामा पनि आई डु थिङ्क अघि समवन अल्सो ह्याड टक्ड अबाउट इट होइन अघि हामी कुरा पनि गरिरहेको थियौँ ब्याक स्टेजमा हाउ मार्चमा चाहिँ बिकज इट्स लाइक वुमेन्स मन्थ यस्तो भ्याइ नभ्याइ हुन्छ होइन वुमेन अन्टरप्रिन्यर्स वुमेन लिडर्स एनी बडीको अनि थ्रु आउट द इयर चाहिँ इट्स लाइक मेन्स मन्थ अनि जहाँ पनि प्यानलमा पनि म्यानल्स मान्छे पाइन्छ होइन अनि बोजूले चाहिँ एउटा एकदम इन्ट्रेस्टिङ स्प्रेडसिट राखेको थियो कि where they had asked, like they did basically a spreadsheet and त्यहाँ चाहिँ different sectors को influential or like women you think you certain कुरामा expert हुनुहुन्छ नि उहाँहरूको नाम recommend गरिदिनुहोस् भनेर राखेको छ के so त्यो spreadsheet is very interesting if anybody tells you like मैले यो सेक्टरमा पाइनँ probably ask them to look at that spreadsheet first and त्यसपछि चाहिँ I think you can like basically find other people होला so त्यो चाहिँ भयो अर्को चाहिँ I also think it's very important to not just put women in like leadership positions but actually give them the position like give them decision making power okay जस्तै मैले त्यो रिसर्च गर्दाखेरि अनि अल्सो एकजना I'm very bad with names and like time and like basically everything is so memory गर्नु पर्यो भने चाहिँ but there was this म जुन अर्गनाइजेसनमा काम गर्छु त्यहाँको एकजना अलमनाईले चाहिँ एउटा फिल्म मेकिङ कोर्स लिनुभएको थियो कि अनि उहाँले चाहिँ इफ आइम नट रङ जनकपुरमा गएर चाहिँ एउटा सानो डकुमेन्ट्री जस्तो लिनुभएको जस्तो लाग्छ है इट वाज इन तराई त्यति चाहिँ मलाई थाहा छ सो त्यहाँ चाहिँ एउटा वुमन सी वाज द डेप्युटी मेयर होइन तर उहाँको इन्टरभ्यू लिनुभएको थियो नि इट वाज सो इन्ट्रेस्टिङ कि अनि उहाँ चाहिँ भाडा मोल्दै हुन्छ लिटरली भाडा मोल्दै इन्टरभ्यू दिनुभएको छ होइन त्यो ठाउँमा मेन भएको यु नेभर सी अ म्यान लाइक द्याट यु सी अ म्यान टक्क अफिसमा पछाडि बसेको प्रब्लली उता नेपालको झन्डा फरफराएको बट उसको चाहिँ त्यस्तो सेटअपमा थियो कि एकदमै होमली सेटअपमा होइन अनि किन चाहिँ तपाईँ के गरिराख्नु भएको छ त यो हुन्छ नि हाम्रो उसको लागि किन पहिला चाहिँ किन तपाईँलाई चुज गर्यो भनेर सोध्यो कि एन्ड देन सी सेड मलाई सबैजनाले चाहिँ राम्रो छ भन्यो मेरो बुढाले पनि तिमीले सक्छौ भन्यो म अरू बेला पनि बोलिरहेको हुन्थेँ अनि मैले चाहिँ लडेँ अनि फर्चुनेट जितेँ पनि भनेर भन्यो कि अनि किन चाहिँ के गरिराख्नु भएको छ त तपाईँले अहिले भनेर सोद्धाखेरि चाहिँ उसले भन्थ्यो मैले कति कुराहरू गर्नु मन छ तर मलाई चाहिँ पावरै दिँदैन मैले कति कुराहरू राख्छु होइन माथि गएर भन्छु यो भयो यो ल्याउनु पर्यो यो कम्युनिटीमा यसको जरुरत छ भन्छु तर सुन्दैन मेरो कुरा सो मैले गर्ने के त भनेर भन्नुभएको थियो कि अनि आई थिङ्क इट्स भेरी इन्ट्रेस्टिङ के हामी भन्नु चाहिँ भन्छौँ ल्याउनु पनि फेरि डेप्युटी मेयर पोजिसनमै हालिदिन्छौँ होइन वुमेनलाई बिकज अफकोर्स हाल्नै पऱ्यो एकजना भनेर अनि हाल्नु पनि हाल्छौँ अनि बट देन युआर लाइक ल हल्का दिएको जस्तो पनि गर्ने पावर बट अल्सो लाइक लिमिटिङ हर लाइक तर यतिभन्दा बढी चाहिँ नै भनेर कि सो त्यो एउटा डकुमेन्ट हेर्दा चाहिँ आई वाज लाइक वाउ अब हामी भन्छौँ डेप्युटी मेयर जस्तो मान्छेलाई त्यसरी तपाईँहरूले गर्नु हुँदो रहेछ भने चाहिँ आई क्यान नट इभन इमेजिन लाइक अरूहरू सेक्टरमा कस्तो होला भनेर अर्को चाहिँ आई डु थिङ्क लाइक इट्स अल्सो इम्पोर्टेन्ट वर्क फोर्समा नै मोर वुमेन ल्याउने हो भने ब्रिङ मोर वुमेन इन डिसिजन मेकिङ रोल्स इन टर्म्स अफ लाइक हाउ द इन्भाइरोमेन्ट सुड लुक लाइक होइन सो त्यो अफिसको इन्भाइरोमेन्ट कस्तो बनाउने त हाउ क्यान वी मेक इट सो द्याट मोर वुमेन वुड बी इन्ट्रेस्टेड टु वर्क इन दिस अर्गनाइजेसन जस्तै हामीले मेन्स्ट्रुअल लिभ अघि कुराहरू गराएको थियौँ होइन एन्ड आई फाइन्ड इट भेरी इन्ट्रेस्टिङ वेन पिपल आर लाइक अनि मेन्स्ट्रुअल लिभ दिएर वुमेनहरूले यसको फाइदा उठायो भने एन्ड आइम लाइक फर्स्ट अफ अल आई थिङ्क इफ युर थिङ्किङ अबाउट लाइक मान्छेहरूले फाइदा उठाउँछ अफ लिभ्स युआर फोकसिङ अन द रङ थिङ तिम्रो कम्पनीको इन्भाइरोमेन्ट कस्तो रहेछ त पिपल आर वान्टिङ टु चिट पिपल आर हुन्छ नि लाइक कस्तो रहेछ तिम्रो इन्भाइरोमेन्ट वेयर पिपल लाइक एउटा छुट्टी पायो भने म त लिइदिन्छु भनेर होइन सो लाइक सरी इट्स नट लाइक द राइट थिङ युआर फोकसिङ अन focus on तिमीहरूको environment, company environment. I'm pretty sure if you love the workplace, if you have wonderful colleagues, and if you're paid well, people are like 2 दिनको छुट्टीको लागि ओहो म त्यस्तो तमासा गर्छ होला हैन म त बल्ल बल्ल छुट्टी पाएको छ म त लिदिन्छु गरेर nobody will do that हैन so I think that is very important as well and अरु चाहिँ I think more exposure को लागि you definitely should not just limit to like maternity leave I think there should be a paternity leave हैन because हामीले कति कुराहरू गर्यौं अब बच्चादेखिको हामीले भन्यौं नि सानदेखि नै men are given this thing women are given this thing भनेर so why not introduce parental leave where both men and women are equally involved because तिम्रो maternity leave दिए पनि once you're out of the workforce for a bit things change things stop you need to catch up on a lot of things हैन but त्यही कुरामा if it's a paternal leave where both parents are kind of sharing the responsibilities I think it's always easier for women to also get back on their work game so I think that is also very important and last but not the least please if तपाईहरु चाहिँ तपाईहरुको संस्थाहरुमा womenहरु काम गर्नुहुन्छ हैन भने चाहिँ डस्टबिन एउटा चाहिँ राख्दिनु होला टोयलेटमा I think everybody can relate to that डस्टबिन एउटा पनि हुन्छ नि त्यो because men don't think about these things because they don't need it right because as women I mean period भयो भने प्याड चेन्ज गरेर कता फाल्ने त there have been so many situations where मैले प्याड पोको पारेर घर ल्याएर फालेको छु के So please त्यो एउटा छ भने चाहिँ तपाईहरुकोमा संस्थामा हुनुहुन्छ वुमेनहरु भने चाहिँ एटलिस्ट राम्रो एउटा डस्टबिन मात्र भए पनि राखिदिनु त्यहाँबाट पनि आई थिङ्क मोर women would be interested in working in your companies.
Sir, I think the particular role of exposure, your particular topic should be very important. अनि किनकि अहिलेसम्म हामीले जति कुराहरू डिस्कस गरिरहेछौँ यो सबै कुराहरू कम्स अराउन्ड कि एक्सपोजर अब इट लाइक धेरै पहिलादेखि सुरु हुन्छ कुराहरू चाहिँ होइन त्यो स्कुल कलेज बच्चाको खेलाउनादेखि नै स्टार्ट भयो तर हरेक कुरामा उहाँको एक्सपोजर टु वाट अनि उहाँको एक्सपोजर टु एट द एन्ड अहिले आएर वर्कफोर्सको कुरा गर्दाखेरि टु अपर्च्युनिटी अनि अब त्यो अपर्च्युनिटीमा उहाँको एक्सपोजर हुनुको लागि अब डेफिनेटली पहिलाभन्दा चाहिँ अहिले चाहिँ द लाइन छ भेरी थिनर सो पिपल क्यान कम आउट अन सोसियल मिडिया सोसियल मिडिया लाइक लिङ्कडिन जहाँ चाहिँ दे क्यान पुट अन अल द क्वालिफिकेसन्स उहाँको आफ्नै अनि वी क्यान रिच आउट टु देम थ्रु त्यो पर्टिकुलर प्लेटफर्म्सहरू पनि त्यसबाहेक अब कम्पनीजहरूले जति गर्न सक्छौँ हामीले आफ्नो एन्डबाट not just on Women Day र अरू यस्ताले सिमिलर सेलिब्रेसन्सहरू if we can त्यो स्ट्रक्चर बनाउँदाखेरि नै if we can structure it in a way कि definitely whatever we talked about अघि नै about कि त्यो आउटपुट ओरिएन्टेड हुनु पर्यो र सबै कुराहरू which would reflect directly indirectly into the equity equality सबै कुराहरू त्यो स्ट्रक्चर नै यस्तो बन्नु पर्यो कि would encourage the women who are within the company to be the role models for the people who would want to join the company as a woman. And त्यो exposure को लागि चाहिँ we can create something around the structure. I think overall much it would help all the companies to get good talent which are women. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much everyone for the insight. And we had a very nice discussion about the current trends, what are the opportunities and challenges that we have in the workplace, especially for women. We talked about structural changes, about the biases that we have, about the tradition, everything. So my very final question for today, and I would appreciate if you can keep it to one-liner because of the time, is we talked about a lot of things, touch based on a lot of issues and stuff. So what is like one singular thing that you can think we can do right now that could bring reform to an equitable workplace? That's why I keep it like just one thing.
So I'll do it in a single sentence. So basically, she mentioned something very bakare. So I would advise women, don't wait for somebody to give you anything, go take it. So rebellious at heart, I would say go take it. Nobody's going to give nothing, right? Nobody's going to give you authority, nobody's going to give you decision-making powers, nobody's going to give you nothing. Nobody gives you. You go take it. If you don't take it, somebody else is going to take it, right? Nobody wants to give their powers to anybody else anyway. If I can keep all the powers, I would, right? So women, please, and the camera is out there, I'm telling you, go take. Whether it's at home, right? Don't tell, if your brother gets home at 10 o'clock, make sure you reach 10:10. Not as 6, not as 7. 6, 7 होइन. काम छैन भने साथीको जाऊ, बाहिर गफ गर, तर get at 10:10. Get your rights from घरमा के पहिला. You are asking for rights everywhere else, but not at home, के sometimes. You got to take that rights first, then everything else will happen. जस्तो लाग्छ के मलाई.
That's the character that we associated with masculine traits, right? Absolutely appreciate it. One line ma, oh no, छोटो मात्रै भन्छ है. That's exactly the kind of attitude हामीले being good ज्ञानी भन्छ नि, ज्ञानी भने खासमा knowledgeable हो नि हैन, ज्ञानी भने खासमा असल भन्न खोज्छौं के हामीले. There is this intrinsic need to be good and accepted, that no matter how much you want, whatever you said, I'm sure so many girls want to, but त्यो ज्ञानी भएन नि त त्यो. अनि त्यो ज्ञानी नभएपछि जुन चाहिँ एउटा ट्याग लाग्छ नि, that is so difficult to be okay with. So rebelliousness might come in different percentages with us, but absolutely. Do not think that because you disagree, because you go out of the norm, you are a bad person. If you just let go of that guilt of being labeled a bad daughter, a bad sister, a bad girl, for just being yourself, like you very rightly said, we can do it a lot. So shed that guilt is what I'd say. Shed that guilt.
यसको लागि चाहिँ आई हेभ अ पर्सनल एक्सपिरियन्स टु सेयर. You'll kill me, I know, but I just want to take few seconds about it. मेरो चाहिँ घरमा कस्तो छ भने म र मेरो बहिनी मात्रै हो, 2 female, and then my mother never did that. किनभने अब मलाई थाहा छैन because I don't have a brother, I don't know what it looks like to be biased in home, हैन. अनि के भयो भने तिहारमा चाहिँ मेरो मामुले सानैदेखि के ट्रेन्ड लगाइदिन्छ नि म मेरो बहिनीलाई टीका लाउँछु के. अनि मेरो मामुले मलाई के भन्छिन्थ्यो भने भाइ बहिनी भनेको चाहिँ जेन्डरले दिने कुरा हैन, तैँले जहिले पनि यसलाई प्रोटेक्ट गर्नुपर्छ, यसले जहिले पनि तँलाई प्रोटेक्ट गर्नुपर्छ भन्छिन्थ्यो के. अनि मलाई यो कुरा मेरो दिमागमा यस्तो मजाले बसेको थियो. अनि अस्ति चाहिँ के भयो भने बिकज वी बोथ आर अडल्ट्स, शी वाज अन हर पिरियड्स, अनि अब टिकै लाउन मिल्दैन भन्ने कुरा भयो के. अनि मैले मेरो बहिनीलाई सोधेँ डु यु वान्ट टु डु दिस भने जहिले गरिरहेछ एभ्री वर्ष, अब यसपालि चाहिँ नपाउने, यो त एकदम नहुने कुरा भयो भनेर भन्यो. अनि मैले मामला गरेँ भने हामी चाहिँ टिका लाउने हो, इफ यु डोन्ट अग्री यु क्यान सिट आउटसाइड द्याट डोर एन्ड वाच. म चाहिँ यहाँ बसेर टिका लाउँछु, जति पाप लाग्छ मलाई लाग्छ. आई डोन्ट वान त्यो हुन्छ नि भित्र बसेर ढोका लाएर थुनिएर के किन गरे जस्तो हुन्छ नि त. सो आई डोन्ट वान डु द्याट भनेर मैले लिटरली आरामले मैले टिका लगाइदिएँ. एन्ड देन आई रोट द्याट एन्ड पुट इट इन इन्स्टाग्राम एन्ड फेसबुक के. बिकज त्यो चेन्ज हुन्छ नि. मैले अघि हामीले यति धेरै कुरा गऱ्यौँ. एभ्रिथिङ स्टार्ट्स राइट फ्रम योर होम, यु, बिकज यु आर द पर्सन द्याट क्यान चेन्ज योर सेल्फ. अरू कसैले के पनि गर्दैन. उहाँले भने जस्तो पोजिसन पनि दिँदैन, हुन्छ नि त्यो गिल्ट. Everything depends upon how you want to do it. So त्यो biasness भन्ने कुरा सानो सानो कुराबाट every single transformation is you, and then त्यो you चाहिँ भोलि गएर हुन्छ नि every hat मैले अघि भने जस्तो you wear मा चेन्ज हुँदै जान्छ, and then that transformation is going to come. So don't wait. हुन्छ नि my mother उहाँले नगर भन्छेन, तर त्यो मेरो फेसबुक स्टेटसलाई सेयर गरेर यस्तो गर्ने हो भन्ने मेरो मामुला कति मान्छे थिए. शी डिडन्ट केयर बिकज शी जस्ट केयर अबाउट मेरो र मेरो बहिनीको खुसी एन्ड द्याट सेलिब्रेसन द्याट वी ह्याड. एन्ड द्याट्स द काइन्ड अफ मदर, द्याट्स द काइन्ड अफ सिस्टर, एन्ड द्याट्स द काइन्ड अफ इन्भाइरोमेन्ट आई वान्ट इट इन माई होम. नाउ आइल मेक द्याट फर माई डटर्स इज वेल, आइल मेक द्याट फर माई इम्प्लोइज, आइल मेक द्याट फर माई टिम, एन्ड द्याट्स द काइन्ड अफ इन्भाइरोमेन्ट द्याट आइल ग्रो. सो द्याट्स हाउ आई थिङ्क वी निड टु ब्रेक द्याट बायसेस.
मेरो चाहिँ वान लाइनर नै छ है. सो कसैको पनि भ्यालिडेसन कुरेर नबसौँ होइन. यो गर्नु राम्रो हो नराम्रो हो, म गरौँ नगरौँ होइन. बिट अब आफ्नै फ्यामिली मेम्बर्सको अथवा चाहिँ नि अफिसमा कोवर्कर्सको अथवा चाहिँ नि बसको होइन, जे गर्न मन लाग्छ त्यो तपाईँलाई ठिक लाग्छ, त्यसले राम्रो रिजल्ट दिन्छ भने त्यो गरौँ होइन. त्यो चाहिँ इनिसिएसन हुन्छ जस्तो लाग्छ. थ्याङ्क यू.
Okay, म पनि छोटोमै भन्छु. So there is a saying हैन that says well behaved women rarely make history, and I म एकदम आत्मसात गर्छु त्यो saying लाई चाहिँ. So I would say for everybody, if anybody is listening, hearing, जे पनि हेरिराख्नु भएको छ भने चाहिँ I would say don't, again, just like adding on to what everyone else is saying, don't sell yourself short just because you're a woman. Again, well-behaved women rarely get things done. They were say be unapologetic, be bigreko keti that people like to say so much, you know. Be that chuchi manche that everybody likes telling you if you are a bit demanding. So je bhancha bhanni sunni, but then just know that you are worth it and you have the power to change the world.
अब म चाहिँ आई कुडन्ट कम आउट विथ अब वान लाइनर पनि, और इनफ्याक्ट लाइक हुन्छ नि त्यो पुरै 3-4 लाइन पनि कसरी भनौँ. तर वाट आई नो इज कि मैले यो प्यानल डिस्कसन गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ जति पनि कुरा भनेको छु नि अहिले, त्यो सबै कुराहरू चाहिँ वाज फर मेन पनि र फर वुमेन पनि होइन. सो दिस इक्वल इट हेज टु बी. सो तपाईँले चाहिँ जुन बेला एज अ वुमेन सोच्नुहुन्छ त्यो बेला के सोच्नु, सबै त्यो मोटिभेसनल कोट्सहरू सबै कुराहरू वर नट मेड फर मेन, was made for you as well, right? And it's as equal as the panel discussion. So even men go through that, and the same thing women go through that as well. Definitely, after how ko alili matala hola, but you have to feel equal. After bitra bada, त्यसपछि मात्रै तपाईलाई equal feel हुन्छ. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for making me feel like a teacher in classroom here. Just want to check with the team if we do have any questions from our online post or anyone from our live audience would like to ask question to our panelist. Just one quick question. Please wait, the mic will be passed on to you.
Thank you. First, very embarrassing boy, sorry. First, मैले चाहिँ के रे प्रेग्नेन्सी त्यसपछि मेटर्निटी पेटर्निटीको कुराहरू भयो हैन. त्यसमा चाहिँ आई डु नट सी एनी अफ द कम्पनीले जस्तै आई थिङ्क विनयले भन्यो ब्रान्डिङ किन गर्दैन यसमा होइन फर्स्ट कुरा त्यो सेकेन्ड वाट आर द फेसिलिटिज द्याट वी आर प्रोभाइडिङ कोही त्यो कोही अब कोही चाहेर हुन्छ कोही नचाहेर हुन्छ प्रेग्नेन्ट होइन त्यो फेसिलिटिज के दिन्छ त अफिसले दिँदैन कि यति कुराहरू कतिजना काम गरिरहेको हुन्छ ए ल त यो प्रेग्नेन्ट भन्ने बित्तिकै ल त तिमी जाऊ 1 वर्ष 1.5 वर्षपछि फर्केर आऊ भन्नु खालको हुन्छ फर्केर आउन दिँदैन सो त्यसको लागि फेसिलिटिजहरूमा अब वी आर फ्रम खल्ती हाम्रो बजार त्यसपछि जिबिएन माकुसे होइन सो आफ्नो कम्पनीबाट त्यस्तो केसमा वाट आर द फेसिलिटिज द्याट वी डु वाट आर द अपर्च्युनिटी द्याट वी गिभ हु वान्ट्स टु कम ब्याक फ्रम त्यो पोइन्ट होइन अनि जसको ग्याप भएको हुन्छ आफ्नो करियर ब्रेक भएको हुन्छ त्यसमा हाउ डु वी ब्रिङ अ रिफर्म हाउ डु ब्रिङ अ सोल्युसन
सो खल्तीको केसमा चाहिँ म अलिकति यसलाई रिलेट गर्न खोजेँ है लास्ट विक मात्रै हाम्रो फाइनेन्स डिपार्टमेन्टमा एकजना यही डेलिभरीकै केस थियो सो सी चुज टु वर्क लाइक फ्रम होम होइन भनेको होइन म लिभ मेरो एकुमुलेट भइहाल्छ सो आई क्यान वर्क होइन अब त्यो नसक्ने नै स्थिति आयो भने आई कन्भर्ट इट इन्टु लिभ अदरवाइज ग्रान्ट मी वर्क फ्रम होम भन्ने खालको कुराहरू आएको थियो त्यतिखेर सो यो कोभिडले पनि धेरै कुरा सिकाइसकेको छ क्या मान्छे अगाडि नै हुनुपर्ने जरुरी छैन भन्ने कुराहरू होइन सो त्यसमा चाहिँ हामी एकदम फ्लेक्सिबल नै छौँ सो हाम्रो त अझ 51% चाहिँ वर्कफोर्स वुमन नै हुनुहुन्छ त्यो हिसाबले पनि यस्तो कुराहरू हामीले यो अब मेन्सुरेसनको लागि नै लिभ चाहिँ वी हेभन्ट अकाउन्टेड अहिलेसम्म होइन सो वी क्यान थिङ्क अफ द्याट बट अरू केसेसहरूमा चाहिँ यो नर्मल्ली यो जेन्डर बायस प्रब्लमहरू अथवा चाहिँ नि नेचुरल प्रोसेसहरू जुन हुन्छ त्यसलाई चाहिँ हामी वेल कन्सिडर नै गरेर अगाडि बढेका छौँ होइन सो वर्क फ्रम होम चाहिँ कम्प्लिटली अलाउडेड छ यो बिट अब मेन्सुरेसनको केसमा होस् अथवा चाहिँ डेलिभरीको केसमा होस् अथवा अरू केसमा होस् हाम्रो केसमा चाहिँ त्यो छ पर्टिकुलरली अरू कुराहरू त अब लामो हुन्छ हस् थ्याङ्क यू
So Moze, because I belong to an organization, Jostle, we actually work for this. So something that we would like to suggest is doing a reskilling development capacity development workshop, something like that, because सबैभन्दा ठुलो fear चाहिँ हामीले womenहरुमा के देख्छौँ भने after they go, they come back after 1.5 years or 2 years को gap मा आइसकेपछि चाहिँ they don't have त्यो हुन्छ नि industry सँग keep up गरिसकेको हुँदैन. So maybe having a reskilling capacity workshop जसमा चाहिँ they don't feel left out a lot of times. That is something that we are also starting as an organization, finding these women who have left the हुन्छ नि workforce because they wanted to be a mother and then coming back उहाँहरुलाई चाहिँ reskill development को workshops हरु चाहिँ हामी आफै पनि we are thinking of doing this, seeing this as a larger problem. So यो चाहिँ as an organization बाटै यस्तो कुराहरु तिमी ढुक्कले जाऊ, तिम्रो लागि चाहिँ reskill workshops हरु हुन्छ after your year, you're totally welcomed भन्ने कुराहरुमा त्यो facilitations हरु दिन सक्यो भने चाहिँ म पनि एउटा ढुक्कले I can go and do my mother duty and come back and say that okay मेरो professional चाहिँ ready छ भन्ने कुरामा. So something that अनि म छुटिरा छैन भन्ने कुराको लागि चाहिँ you can just send me emails saying that यस्तो यस्तो कुराहरु चाहिँ हाम्रो meetings हरुमा भयो, which I've seen a lot of companies practice पनि. So these are the things that I think help in one way.
I think at Makuse we are fairly young. We have fairly young in terms of we've been operating, like I've said, for 16 months now. So हाम्रो यो problem face गरिसक्ने बेला चाहिँ अब आउँदै नै छ. But learning from what I've heard today and also from best practices of the corporates that I had the good fortune of working with in the past. जब system अघि नै भने जस्तै system जब मजाले बसेको हुन्छ तब चाहिँ maternity leave को लागि मात्रै भनेर अथवा paternity leave को लागि, which is usually shorter because of natural processes धेरै कुराहरुमा त्यो चाहिँ structurally set up गर्दाखेरि राम्रो हुने र त्यसैको बहानाले in fact you are able to acquire good talent as well. जुन चाहिँ भवि तपाईं let's say कुनै अरु कुनै अब accidents होला जे होला covid होला गर्ने बेलामा you also create a backup workforce which becomes really interesting as well. So for the future of Makuse र आफू associate भएको अरु धेरै companies हरुमा पनि के देख्न चाहन्छु भने देखिन systems जब बलियो बन्दै जान्छ तब हरेक मान्छेले कुनै न कुनै कारणले गर्दाखेरि career gap लिनु पर्ने हुन सक्छ. family मा के passing होला हुन्छ नि accidents होला so many things. So absolutely keeping a structure in place so that they know what exactly they're coming back to. Usually in startup culture, when there is one person looking after everything, घरघुर काम गर्ने ठाउँमा चाहिँ त्यो गर्न गाह्रो हुन्छ, गइसकेपछि त्यो supplierसँग अर्कैको ऱ्यापो बनिसकेको हुन्छ, you know, it's like what do you fill in? So for startups, I would definitely recommend कि start building structures around so that you can build these best practices. अनि त्यो maternity leave मा गएर आउने बेलामा that structure is definitely going to help. र त्यही बहानाले you in fact groom some other talent as well, which you more than likely will be able to find a position in some other department because they've known your company very well in the time that they've been there for working as a sub.
Our organization in particularly period leaves we don't have, but we don't stop anybody if they want to take a leave if they're going through it. There was a discussion on period leave. I think somebody from our industry actually did it. Hats off to them. But again, it's a very controversial topic. A lot of women who are leaders don't really want it in the first place, right? So it's very controversial. If you have to take a vote, it probably fail by 90 to 10. And 10% are the women who are suffering from it. And if they are not in leadership position, they don't have a voice. So again, not all women suffer from it. So you can take a sick leave. To take in particular, I have a particular department where we have a lot of women. And it's a department where it's called a fulfillment department. So there are women who are fulfilling. And I think 90% or probably even 80%, 90% are women. Suddenly, if it happens that all three or all four or five, I don't know what the number is, happen to have a period cramp on the same time, customers don't get the packages at all, right? No matter what you do. Now comes the question is, so it'll come with its own challenges. It's never going to be like, no amount of planning is really going to help us to do that. Like you said, in terms of the question being, what are the facilities we provide? We allow them. Even if they have, we manage. Somebody else takes over, but we can't do it point beyond गर्न सक्दैन. त्यसकोलाई like structurally more men, or now the bigger question is for HR to ask, do you have period cramps? See, it gets difficult, even more complicated, right? So these are the things that you usually go through. Like you said, work from home wala cases critically affect you can always, it's not that difficult. Now, coming to maternity leave, I don't think it's majorly an issue. If somebody takes a year off, year and a half off, 2 years off, see, it's a choice, right? She said you can do reskilling, but really can't do much. If a man thinks he wants to go out and take a 2 years paternity leave, he's going to come back with 2 years lack of experience, 2 years industry behind the industry. I mean, yes, it's not equal, but what do you do about it? It's the way it is, right? Yes, you can create a little bit environment where they can come up, but see, 2 years of gap or 1 year of gap is difficult to fill up. Industry like organizations, we can actually do that, which are focused in doing that. Maybe we can partner with those organizations, but I don't think any organization, unless they're multi-billion dollar organization, who can actually create departments to actually do this. You have to go to specialists who can probably do it. Again, specialists will not have industry-specific solutions for it. So you're going to encounter problems. It's just like, what if somebody meets with an accident and has to go off for a year? The answer is as simple as that. It's obviously not an accident. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not, but regardless of whatever it is, as a company, you should be empathetic, you should try harder, but I don't think as a profit-making organization, it's possible. It's as a development, if you're a social organization where profits are not governing you, budgets are governing you, you can do a lot more, right? And I think you should do a lot more, right? But I don't think as a profit-making organization, it's difficult, right? Kalti would say that. I think even you and Amro Bazar would certainly say that.
Okay, what was the question? What the question if you say? Yes, okay. So women lead मा चाहिँ where I work, interestingly हाम्रो workforce भनेको it's usually कि त 100% women भएको छ. अनि we had 9 full-time staff मा पछि चाहिँ we had 7 women, 2 men. But very interestingly हाम्रो एकजना मात्रै अहिलेसम्म प्रेग्नेन्ट हुनुभएको छ and she was a former employee हैन. So त्यो बेलामा चाहिँ मैले सुनेको चाहिँ 2 months कि 3 months को paid leave दिएको भनेको थियो, but I think that's not enough. Moving forward, say we have been talking to हाम्रो executive director, who is a woman herself again. कुरा चाहिँ भइरहेको छ about how we can bring यस्तो यस्तो कुराहरू नि menstrual leave चाहिँ छ हाम्रोमा. अर्को भनेको चाहिँ we have always been. So when I joined Women Lead, I joined 2016 मा हैन. त्यो बेलादेखि नै work from home को concept थियो के त्यो organization मा, which I was very like wow भएको थियो, यस्तो पनि concept छ भएको थियो हैन. So त्यति बेला पनि बन्द सन्द एकदम हुन्थ्यो नि त. अनि मेरो first question यही थियो because I live धापासीमा, office to यहाँ जाउलाखेलमा. So I was like बन्दको बेलामा चाहिँ के हुन्छ भनेर सोधेँ कि because there have been offices where I've walked for like 2 hours होला के, just because they were like होइन हामी त लिभ दिदैनौँ भनेर हैन. ओके फाइन. सो गएको थिएँ हैन. सो म त्यो सोधेको थिएँ अनि उहाँहरूले चाहिँ त्यति बेला भन्नुभएको थियो कि होइन हाम्रोमा चाहिँ इफ बन्द सन्द भयो भने चाहिँ इफ यु हेभ ल्यापटप घरमा काम छ भने चाहिँ यु क्यान अल्सो वर्क फ्रम होम. सो त्यो सुविधा छ भन्नुभएको थियो हैन. सो त्यस्तो सुविधा चाहिँ हाम्रोमा वर्क फ्रम होमको कन्सेप्ट आउनुभन्दा अगाडिदेखि नै थियो, विच आई एम भेरी प्राउड अफ. अनि एकदमै फ्लेक्सिबल इन्भाइरोमेन्ट चाहिँ छ. 10 to 5 working time हो, but sometimes केही कारणले गर्दाखेरि you have to work late. So त्यो भयो भने it's okay to come office 11 तिर. Basically input output को हामी कुरा गरिरहेको थियौँ नि. Lot of things हरु चाहिँ Women Lead नेपालमा चाहिँ at least output मा focus हुन्छ के. So work, no matter how you work, just get me the things done. Last मा चाहिँ मलाई output चाहियो त्यो भयो हुन्छ भन्ने छ हैन. So I do think moving forward चाहिँ यो सबै कुराहरु चाहिँ आज यो panel discussion मा कुरा चाहिँ I'll definitely take it forward. And हामीले चाहिँ यो parental leave नै as a concept चाहिँ कसरी introduce गर्ने भन्ने पनि कुराहरु चाहिँ अब start गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने चाहिँ लागिसकेको छ. Just to add on to that, हाम्रो त्यो insurance हुन्छ नि, health insurance office मा. So last year सम्म चाहिँ if I remember त्यसमा चाहिँ त्यो pregnancy को cover हुँदैन थियो के. So यस्तो खाले package दिनु भएको थियो. So हाम्रो ED ले चाहिँ भन्नुभएको थियो moving forward त्यस्तो पनि कुराहरु चाहिँ हामी add गर्छौँ हाम्रो packages मा भनेर. So which I think is good. So few कुराहरु here and there चाहिँ गर्नु भएको छ. I do agree with different kind of organization set up different हुन्छ हैन. So कतिकोमा मिल्छ होला मिल्दैन होला, but as much as it's possible definitely यस्तो कुराहरु चाहिँ I would say for all the field work field I would ask them to look into it. But even like leaves why can't you just hire like a temporary position? I've seen so many organizations organization where I wanted to apply unfortunately, but it was a temporary position and it was for someone who was going maternity leave. So it's all about looking at different kind of ways to kind of problem ma matra focus गरेर भएन, solution चाहिँ कसरी ल्याउने भन्ने त्यो सोचे भने चाहिँ आउँछ होला. Last but not the least, please have राम्रो dustbin in your toilet. म यति advocate गर्छु यो कुराको लागि, that is very needed.
I think हाम्रो organization मा चाहिँ again like हुन्छ नि is for profit organization हाम्रो बजार अनि त्यसले गर्दा चाहिँ त्यति ठुलो डिसिजन्सहरु छ. अब obviously एक वर्षको पेड लिभ्स हामीले अहिलेको टाइममा दिन नसकौँला हैन. तर अब there have been times जुन बेला अब not for the particular reason we're talking about अहिले, तर मान्छेहरुलाई 1 महिना 1.5 महिनासम्मको लिभ पनि चाहिएको छ. अनि कुनै बेला चाहिँ उहाँले नभन्दाखेरि पनि we have considered 15 days or 20 days को उहाँको पेड लिभ्सहरु पनि हैन. So definitely we do think उहाँको एफर्ट उहाँको टाइम उहाँको जति उहाँले इयर्स हाम्रो बजारमा दिनु भएको छ or हाम्रो particular organization मा दिनु भएको छ त्यसको बेसिसमा चाहिँ what we have to do even like if they don't ask for it हैन. So we do think around it. Period leave say we haven't given त्यति धेरै thought around it to be very true हैन. तर saying that again I'm very sure कि if हाम्रो team members would come up to us and कसैले हाम्रो HR लाई भन्नुहुन्छ भनेर कि these particular days चाहिँ उहाँको लागि थोरै difficult हुन्छ भनेर चाहिँ त्यो बेला चाहिँ we सोधेको पनि छ होला definitely difficult हुन्छ भने पहिला. अनि मलाई I don't remember like हुन्छ नि last time I said कि कुनै पनि leave आजसम्म कि हुँदैन भनेर यस्तो आजसम्म भनेकै छैन यत्रो वर्षमा भनेपछि हैन. त्यो environment चाहिँ flexible हुनु पर्यो हैन. अनि I'm very sure even the team members के when we call them team like हुन्छ नि they would understand कि हाम्रो पनि आफ्नै स्ट्रिङ्सहरु छ, हामीले पनि कतिसम्म गर्न सक्छौं. अब हैन सबैजनालाई अब मानम कि 5-7 जनालाई लिभ दिएर 1 वर्षको लागि पेड लिभमा राखौं, we want that like we would want that for ourselves as well. तर अब कतिपय टाइमसम्म नमिल्न सक्छ होला तर वी हेभ टु अगेन लाइक हुन्छ नि कमिङ अराउन्ड त्यो स्ट्रक्चर त्यस्तो बनाउनुपर्छ होला त्यो कल्चर त्यस्तो बनाउनुपर्छ होला कि उहाँहरूले आएर भन्न सकौँ हामीलाई के खास यो प्रब्लमले गर्दा लिभ चाहियो भनेर सो या वी वर्किङ अराउन्ड इट इट्स अ वर्किङ प्रोग्रेस नै हस् थ्याङ्क यू
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you for the question. So we're moving towards wrapping up our panel discussion for today. So I hope that the talk that we had today would not just remain talk, but then we can make some action out of it. Two things that I take out of today's session is ask question and demand. Demand what you want. So with that note, I would like to thank everyone present here and our live stream viewers for watching our live stream and participating. And to wrap up our session, I would like to call Lomas Adhikari, Country Manager for Renegade Nepal, to hand over the token of appreciation to our guest. And along with that, I would like to give a big thank you to our sponsors, Organic Originals, Revolution Project, Suica, Faint-Scented Candles, The Social Lubricant, and KTM Bakes for their kind gesture and sponsoring this gift. Guys, a big round of applause to our panelists today. Binay, Melisha, Anushka, Abhushan, Suzu, and Rohit. And with that, I would like to thank everyone once again. And we do have high tea, so please do stick around. And Lomas, up to you for our closing remarks. And I would bid farewell. Thank you. It was really nice hosting this event.
So thank you everyone live ma physically present hunनुभएको सबैजनालाई and I am very grateful that busy schedule बाट 2 घण्टा भनेपछि अलि बढी भयो apologies for that है त्यसको लागि and women's day मा मात्र women's month मा मात्र हैन कि we need to create more activities and we need to uplift women the diverse sector बाट आएर राम्रो thoughts हरु and creative thoughts. So Renegade as a company, Hamro Bazar, Makuse, and other companies, I hope they can create something. They can pick something. And then they can help people. They can help women and girls to come agadi. Thank you.
Thank you.